Sounds good. All right, with that, we'll get started. Welcome everyone to another edition of the Hippy Dippy Super Sunday. It's my third time doing one. The last two have been, I don't know. I kind of feel like we peaked with the last one. We had Infrared and Redneck, and one of the craziest panels I've ever been on personally. So maybe we peaked, but the only way we know is if we keep flying over the mountain. You know what I mean? So, it's July 25th, Hassan Piker's birthday. Everybody say happy birthday, Hassan Piker. I am your host and moderator, Binks. If you don't know who I am, that's totally reasonable because Danabo just made me do this for some reason. But I have fun doing it. Everyone seems to have fun doing it. And here we go. So first off, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we'll introduce our panelists and get started on the first topic. So this is one of 3 weekly Hippy Dippy shows. We have a Hippy Dippy Roundtable every Friday. We also have Hippy Dippy Recruitment with Mr. Geek, and Dylan Burns does the roundtable, obviously. And Hippy Dippy Super Sunday. So, definitely follow Mr. Geek, follow Dylan Burns if you want more of this content. If you are an aspiring panelist, you can go to Danabo's server, where he sort of vets people for the recruitment shows and for all kinds of shows that he books throughout the week. You can also support Danabo because he is the quote unquote puppet master of Twitch politics by going to shellshockcbd.com. Enter code Danabo for 10% off of your first purchase, okay? Everyone should do it right now. All right. So with all of that out the way, we're going to get into intros for our guests. We'll go by one. Just shout out your channel, what you do, who you are, what you stream, if you like pina coladas, all that kind of stuff. And then after that, we'll get into the rules, and then we'll go into panel topics. Okay, so let's start with AuGrimace.
AuGrimace, twitter.com and twitch.tv. I am a moderate liberal. I like doing roundtables. I like playing games, and I like nice sunsets and long walks on the beach.
Lovely. Okay, we'll go with Agent next.
Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm Agent. Twitter is agent10_TTV, and Twitch is agent_10_. A lot of gaming, a lot of politics. I'm a moderate righty, a college student, theater, and yeah, that's really about it. I like yelling at people.
Who doesn't? All right, we'll go to AircraftSparky.
I'm AircraftSparky. You can find me on youtube.com/AircraftSparky, twitch.tv/AircraftSparky. I am a nationalist conservative. I basically talk about, things need to happen in this country as far as I see it, things we need to preserve, such as our 2A rights. And go out and have fun, play some video games here and there. And yesterday we were blowing shit up. So yeah, good times.
Sounds good. Let's go to Joe Lewis.
Yeah, I'm Joe Lewis. Handles on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter are Joe Lewis with the O being a 0. I just talk on the internet. I'm too right for the lefties, too left for the righties. And I guess happy birthday to Hassan too. Hopefully somebody will gift him calves and thighs. So yeah, glad to be here.
Can only hope. All right, Hardwood and Sock.
Yeah, Hardwood and Sock on Twitch. I don't have a Twitter because it's cancer. Moderate conservative. Tend to enjoy good faith conversations. These panels are a lot of fun, and always a pleasure to be here, Banks, and thank you, Danabo, as always. Look forward to discussing topics with you all.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Fanatic.
Yeah, it would take me the longest. Fanatic, I think everyone knows me, twitch.tv/MrFanatiq, or those of you who don't, I stream music and just literally anything that I feel like doing. And I used to frequent a lot of panels. I've been kind of taking a break from that and just kind of doing something new for a little bit. Musician, that's my primary thing. You can find my music everywhere. I don't know. This is my first panel in a while. I'm hoping it goes well.
Sounds good. And finally, best for last, save the show, last minute replacement. Love him just as much as everyone else. Wick, how's it going?
It's going well. I just they invited me last minute. Thought I'd jump in and give my opinions. I'm Wick. You can find me at twitch.tv/deathofcertainty. I try to make a bridge between the left and the right in many ways, though I do consider myself to be firmly in the left side of things for the most part.
Thank you very much. Okay. So I'll just go over the rules, and after that, we'll get into the first topic. We're gonna have three
Wait,
topics.
I thought it was a meme. You just skipped
Oh,
me.
Cutsleeve.
thought you were
Did,
memeing.
did I do that last time? I don't know why. I'm so sorry, Cutsleeve. Go ahead. Yeah, you get as long an intro as you want.
Of course, my name is Cutsleeve. You can just find me at the Discord. If Mr. Geck, that's what your tag is, if he remembers to plug me in at the end. So I'm just gonna say it twice because he's probably gonna forget. Find me at the Discord. All right. I don't really have the equipment for Twitch. My YouTube channel's dead. So that's me. Oh, where my leanings, my main political goal is I think there's a lot of corruption, mostly for the Democrats, but that's because the Democrats are in power, and I just want to make the, the corruption, the government more clear, right? It's the things that are classified is the things where corruption happens. Secrecy breeds corruption, and that's my main goal on Twitch, to eliminate the secrecy within the government. And in that case, I'm anti-establishment.
Thank you very much. And you know what? You exposed the corruption of this channel because I forgot you, obviously. So I thank you for that. I will endeavor to do better. Okay. So with that said, we'll go over the rules and get into the first topic. So for each topic, we're going to have an opening statement. Sorry. So each panelist can give a brief summary of their positions, and after that, we'll head into a general discussion, probably around 45 minutes. If you find that you can't speak due to over talking, please raise your hand. I will write your name down, or remember from photographic memory, calling you when an opportunity presents itself. And but try to talk during it. I think if we try, we can kind of keep a conversational flow. Hopefully, goes without saying. TOS, be nice, no misgender, anything like that. And okay, cool. And with all that out the way, I think we're ready to get started. So let's go into the first topic and opening statements. The first topic is, are gambling streams killing Twitch? There's been a lot of controversy about gambling streams on the platform. Curious what everyone thinks about it and where we want to go with this. So let's start with Cutsleeve because I wronged him.
So here, I'll just type this in the chat. I'll just do this in a syllogism. Premise 1, killing in this context means to decrease to a substantial amount. If Twitch is dead, no viewers are on there. Premise 2, if it was the case that gambling streams were killing Twitch, we would see a decrease in Twitch viewership. Premise 3, Twitch has not decreased its viewership based on a substantial amount. Therefore, there is no evidence suggesting the fact that gambling streams are killing Twitch. Now, there's an ethical argument that gambling's wrong, but here's the syllogism for that. Premise 1, smoking is unethical and kills 500,000 people a year. Premise 2, smoking is allowed on Twitch. Premise 3, smoking is not killing Twitch. Therefore, even if gambling is unethical, it's still not killing Twitch. So either definition makes it so Twitch is not dying via gambling.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Grimace.
Oh, I shouldn't have said anything. Twitch has to decide what kind of platform they want to be. They have an extremely large amount of younger people on this panel under the age of 18 or pretty close to 18 and over. They come to the site hoping to play video games and hang out with cool entertainers, and they leave with weird fetishes for girls in hot tubs and harmful gambling addictions that they are going to have to deal with for the rest of their lives. And as soon as the advertisers get a hold of this sort of information and realize what a toxic cesspool Twitch is becoming, they're more than likely going to start pulling out their money, and we can start to see a lot more people moving to YouTube.
All right, spicy take. I'll bring it to you, Joe.
Yeah, I agree with Grimace here. As somebody who fell victim to the hot tub pipeline, I do see the dangers of Twitch as a platform. It's just like my argument is just strictly on advertisements and the legality. Like, if we understand that gambling isn't legal in all 50 states, then the states that are probably going to be challenging whatever exists currently on Twitch are going to be those states, which are going to be particularly Hawaii and Utah, if I'm remembering correctly. So they're not going to go after like Twitch directly. They'll probably go after the whatever streamer or whatever content creator they think is like functioning in the most nefarious way. And then what sucks about that is there's a very like what's the word? I don't know the word, but there's a very like strong likelihood that other online gambling sites that do function in capacity are going to start going after, whether it be the content creators in Twitch as well. So it just creates this legal battle that I don't think Amazon wants to have. And so we'll probably see some type of rule in the next 3 to 6 months that just cracks down on it. They can't make a new category, but they'll probably just do like a hard crackdown on that. That or VPNs.
Thank you. Let's go to Hardwood and Sock.
Generally, I don't see a huge issue with gambling on Twitch because I don't think like it's making people leave the platform. But I do believe that like Joe Lewis made a very good point where it is illegal in certain states. So there's obviously going to be issues for the content creators in those states. You know, if someone wants to indulge in gambling streams, you know, I think it's their right to do so. But I guess the question is whether Twitch should allow it. I mean, Twitch allows other things that are harmful to society, so I don't understand why this one would be any different. I guess that's kind of my takes. We'll see where it goes.
Sounds good. Fanatic.
Yeah, I think it's a really hyperbolic idea to say that something is going to kill Twitch. It won't. Twitch, I think, was maybe a few years ago, it was like the 5th most visited website in the world. It's probably still up there pretty freaking high. Nothing is going to kill it, whatever. I do think this could be a problem for it. I could see this like creating some sort of issue. Like I can see the reasons why, like considering like how many young people have access to this. I can see Twitch eventually getting to a point where they kind of stop people from doing it. But no, even if they didn't, it wouldn't kill it. There are plenty of people who are here for video game, plenty of people here for other things, and they're going to be here regardless. But yeah, I think it's probably not the best idea overall. But yeah, I don't know. I think the hyperbolic talk is kind of ridiculous.
Thank you. Sparky.
I think this is a huge controversy. Look, gambling streams, who really cares? Sure, some kids may actually watch it. Look, they maybe they need to put like an adults only deal where you can click it and say, hey, look, only adults should watch this. But look, with all the other BS that happens on this platform, such as my hot tub streamers, the titty streamers that used to exist, and everything else, look, Twitch politics is a cancer on this freaking platform, for Christ's sakes. I mean, look, it's just like Twitter, except with face cams. So let's just go ahead and stop clutching our little pearls and oh, think of the children when you literally have people advocating for lowering the age of consent on Twitch. And I'm looking at you, Vosh, you horrible degenerate. So look, if people like that are going to be allowed on Twitch, what's wrong with someone actually going to a website and playing some poker? The World Series of Poker has been on ESPN, a mainstream outlet, for years. Should we cancel ESPN in states where it's illegal to vote, illegal to gamble? No. This is ridiculous. It's a dumb premise. If you don't like what you're watching, go to another channel, enjoy yourself. Touch some grass.
Thank you. And you know, we tried to invite Vosh to debate Sparky. Wouldn't do it. Wouldn't do it. Sad. Let's go to Wick.
So, yeah, when it comes to Twitch allowing gambling streams and things like that, I think it is hyperbolic, as Fanatic said, that it's not going to kill Twitch. There are legal and ethical concerns for the website, and I think that it probably does more harm than good to allow these streams to go on its platform. Um, However, at the end of the day, there are far more important issues we need to address. There are far more important things that need to be talked about. And as Sparky said, there's a lot worse that goes on this platform than gambling streams. Still, if I were king of Twitch, I would disallow it from the platform, but it's not going to happen. So
Thank you very much. And finally, Agent.
Yeah, so many things. One, this is a gaming site. I'm sorry. Titty streamers, gambling shouldn't be on here. Also, I know we're doing Twitch politics. If you even gonna try to compare gambling to politics, I mean, one's super addictive, one's not. I'm sorry. You discussing like Trump for the fucking 17th time in the day is not as addictive as running the slots. There's extreme ethical concerns, not only the fact that Twitch has no age gate whatsoever. I mean, hell, Cutsleeve's right there is 17. He can't even go into a fucking casino, let alone like gamble on a site. We have this huge problem with, for example, gotcha games and loot crates. We also seen shit like this on YouTube with CS:GO betting sites and T Martin, which eventually had huge fucking implications, getting kickback from the sites without the viewers knowing, basically giving a veneer of the streamer, gambling a bunch of money, winning a bunch of money, when in reality, he wasn't gambling nothing. He was getting kickbacks from the site and is just promoting gambling to younger viewers. This is like insanely bad for the whole platform. The fact that it's going to kill Twitch, no, I feel like it just promotes a toxic environment. Really, that's about it.
All right, cool. Open it. Anybody want to kick it off? Like,
Yeah,
I think
I
really
have a
quickly.
for Fanatic. It's for Fanatic, so it's a good segue. I'm getting. You and I are old enough to remember Raffle Monster, and I'm getting a lot of like callbacks to the FGC versus Justin TV versus Twitch versus Raffles. So I know you were a bit closer than that than I was, because I was on Team AG at the time. And that was like right when Mad Cats did that whole like splinter of like small groups. But I'm wondering if you could like elaborate a little bit on that controversy, if you remember that.
Oh yeah, I was like a big time participant actually. It was actually
Me too.
extremely lucrative. It was crazy. But yeah, basically just during the FGC days, there was a point in time where we were all doing donation drives, which really amounted to raffles. There was a website. I think it was called WePay, and you would like set up like you would set up a product for free, and the product that that was for free, people could raffle. They could buy raffle tickets through donations in order to support you, and in order to whatever. And so like there you would do money, and then eventually it'd be like, oh well, if you buy X amount of tickets, we'll throw in bonus tickets. And it was like completely like there wasn't any physical paper or anything, but it was just they would donate actually money, and then you would like sell a stick, and you were getting around. For me, because I wasn't like the biggest streamer, I was relatively big back then. You would probably get around $1,300 per stick. And the stick itself was typically around like maybe 150. Yeah, it was a huge thing. And then eventually the FGC got together and they cracked down and were just like, hey, like this is not okay. Because people were getting really hyper exploitative and doing like 7 raffles in a week, sometimes more. And like it was just a money grab. And people started getting, it was like crazy advertisement. But anyway, just during that time, yeah, it was pretty wild. But eventually they got cracked down on, but it wasn't going to kill the FGC. That's crazy.
all right.
I actually want to question the agent because it seems like he
Sure.
might have a disagreement on the first premise of syllogism 2. So my question to you is there a difference between gaming and gambling? Because
Yes.
as you pointed out, like games have gambling. So if Train does a gambling stream, is it different than doing a gaming stream where he does gambling in it?
I would say yes, because the only certain gambling aspects of games, such as loot crates, which have already been in many parts of the world, like severely cracked down upon by governments. Just make sure you know the odds, make sure you know that this is gambling versus like you going on a gambling site where there could be a backdoor deal, you getting credit for it allegedly. A lot of these gambling sites don't even pay you out for the most part. It's like Bitcoin
Right.
or other
Agent,
cryptocurrencies. It's different. It's not the same.
can I ask you a question? What is your
Sure.
definition of game? What's your definition of game?
Just what do you mean my definition of game?
Right, because I
That's
just make the
extremely broad.
argument
We
that
mean like video game, or
like,
like we just mean like a game in general? Because like that a game could like go all the way from like pat a cake to like fucking laser tag. Like,
in
what do
your
you mean?
scenario, you classify Twitch as a gaming
Yes, I
website.
did. Yes,
So
Twitch
what
also
would you,
classifies itself as a gaming website.
so
It's a
what
video
would you
gaming
define as
website
gaming?
specifically.
Okay, so video games, right? I define video games as an interactive medium. Like when you interact with the video, you're supposed to be gaming on. And under that definition, casinos are games, right? There are video game casinos. and they would
No-
actually list them.
Yes,
as
I
well.
know, but you
no,
also
nobody
can't-
thinks that gambling is akin
Yeah.
to video games. When everybody
Yeah.
thinks of gambling, they obviously think of something different. Just because you can be pedantic enough to fit it into the same definition doesn't mean that people, for
Well-
the most part, think that when they send their kids off to go watch Ninja play Fortnite, that they could also be watching a stream of like a 30-year-old man winning $500,000 at gambling. Like nobody.
Wait,
Yeah,
nobody-
real quick too.
Oh, wait.
Something I'm stuck on
Wait,
is that I'm really pilled on not using the word in the definition. So can you give a better definition for game that doesn't have the word gaming in it?
Interactive media.
So
For
like
specifically to
anything.
AuGrimace, it doesn't. But wait, for
So it's
specifically to AuGrimace, I don't care what people think, right? And there are little video games that are just gambling. Like this brings me back to the Flash days. Where,
Well-
like my first experience is just like fake gambling site. You can be fake or you can be
Well,
real.
you just
Or
said
you can
fake
just join-
gambling, right?
Hey, how's it going?
No, I'm saying you can do like.
Oh, okay,
Scrimmage
cool. Yeah,
that are
you
fake.
can just leave it right at the side, Joe. I'll
Joe,
be
you're
right
not
down.
muted, buddy.
Joe, not muted.
Oh shit.
So, like,
That's a
You gonna share,
It's
bro?
all good.
that's a power move, right? Right.
Yeah, so
Power
if,
play.
like if it's a fake gaming site, I don't
Sorry, I'll
care
be
if
right
you're
back.
doing
No,
like
it's a fake-
fake
wait, it's
digital
a fake
currency
game.
for like
No,
fake
it's a-
slot machines. My problem is when you're putting
it's a
actual
fake
real life
and
money into
real
it.
gambling site. So like,
Okay, I-
if you wanted to, you
Find
can
that.
do, like fake gambling, or you can actually put in money and do real gambling, right? It's
Yeah,
kind
you
of
shouldn't be streaming that on Twitch.
Wait, Cutsleeve, please,
What
please,
would
please,
be
wait,
considered
Cutsleeve, so we can have a good conversation. Like, we don't have to go down this like weird rabbit hole of like what exactly is gaming. There's a point that you want to get to. Please make that point. But like right now, you're really doing a semantic war about what exactly is gaming. And yes, we understand in order to do casinos, you have to have a gaming license. But we understand the context in which we're talking about video games versus any other kind of gaming. So Twitch. I disagree with Agent 10 as you do that Twitch is a video game website. It's no longer that. I think it's very much broader than that. There still is things for other things such as chatting. There's things for music. They've like allowed like all sorts of other like IRL streams and things like that. So I don't think Twitch is just a video game stream, although that was its primary intention originally. But that's fine. Like, but we please like stop with the semantic war. Let's just move the conversation forward.
I mean,
like
if
that.
you want
Moving
to get my
forward
point, my
without-
point is like under. But like my point is, if you want to get my point, under any reasonable definition, under every definition of video games, casinos and gambling would fit into that.
Okay, but
Okay,
again,
when we're
what's
talking
the
about video
point
gaming,
of
then
that?
we're talking about
That's not
everything
the
except
issue.
gambling.
Yeah, that's not the issue. The problem with Twitch allowing gambling streams is that it encourages and it incentivizes and it what's the word? It makes it look good.
It's like unethical, right?
It makes it look good to children who see people. It glorifies it. That's the word I'm looking for.
Right,
Sorry,
so
my
wait,
brain's a little.
so we're-
Let me finish my point. I haven't even made a point yet.
I'm-
So it glorifies people putting in money to gambling to win more money, not fake money, not some kind of randomized event in a video game, but actual cash, actual things that can affect their income levels and things like that. And gambling is addictive.
Right,
We know
so-
this is
so wait.
true. Gambling causes a lot of harm and does a lot of damage to communities. It does a lot of damage to families and individuals. And so when we talk about what's the ethical kind of concerns around allowing this on Twitch, that's what we're talking about. Trying to go into this weird talk about what's the definition of a game, what's the definition of this, has nothing to do with this.
wait, so wait,
No.
even in like the syllogism too, kind of like debunks your argument because it's
I
logically
don't care
sound.
about your syllogisms.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait,
dude,
look,
what the fuck is this?
look,
Like,
Cutsleeve,
you wanna come out here with like
All right,
a
let's
fucking
let
shit
Sparky
essay.
talk. Let's let Sparky talk.
Look, Cutsleeve, look, the way you're going about this isn't going to work, man. I'm just going to throw that out there. Look, the whole idea of this whole we have to set a higher ethical standards. Have you actually looked through some of the things, some of the filth that is actually put out here on Twitch, and you really want to complain because someone's
right
getting paid behind the wall that you didn't know about? Oh my God! I mean, we've got people claiming to be socialists while shilling out their Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship. Don't
Yeah,
talk
those
to
people
me.
are hypocrites.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Look at you, Sonsel.
Okay.
hey,
so
Wait, hang on. So I have two things.
So
I
is
have
this
a few
gimmick
things.
for you? Just call everyone out and hope you get a response.
No,
type
I'm-
shit?
Wait, no, I have a few things, right? Like,
I'm
It's a
here for it,
controversy.
honestly.
yeah, real quick. I have a few things. Like the first thing is right. There's nothing wrong with anybody making money. Like just because you have a certain political or ideology doesn't mean you're not allowed to make money in ways that you feel are appropriate. Secondly, I think the issue is kind of what I was laying out with Fanatic, right? Is that, like, listen, when I donate to Amaranth every month, I know where my money is going. My money is going right on her arm or her whiteboard. It's a very easy system, which I understand exactly where my money is going. And maybe a couple ASMR streams where I don't get timed out. That's a very great perk to get. However, something
that money is also going towards her gigantic mansion and Lamborghini
yeah,
and things like that, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. I understand the transaction. However, because I have a point here, and I guess we'll lay it out as a hypothetical, and this is the problem. So Cutsleeve, under current statute, if I were to want to do a paid raffle where people have to put in money to get a ticket, I would need a gambling license. If I don't have a gambling license, should I be allowed to do a gambling stream on Twitch where I do raffles for prizes? In this case, paid raffles. Should I be allowed to do that?
I think the
I don't know if he's frozen or
You
just
blew
I
his
think
mind
confused.
so hard.
No.
Oof.
I think he's just standing really still.
So the correct answer to that question would be no, you should not be able to.
Right.
Well, all right.
I'm of the opinion
have
we
a
shouldn't
question.
allow gambling at all, like license or not licensing. What does it
Right.
matter if he has a license or not?
Yeah.
Well,
Fair, but
that's
yeah.
the current statute. So, like, the problem was with fighting games and raffles was that some streamers, because of their notoriety, couldn't do raffles because, for example, if I'm going to name some names that probably nobody knows what I'm talking about. If Team Spooky, in collaboration with Big E, runs a fighting game tournament, and then they're doing a paid raffle with their streamers, it's reasonable to say that they are either in the city of Philadelphia or New York City. So in those two areas, that type of raffle requires you to have a gambling permit. In those states, gambling permits are incredibly hard. So you'd have to prove that you have a gambling license in order to gamble. Now, if I'm just some individual on Twitch in Utah and gambling is banned outright, however, I have no indication that I am actually from Utah, then that's where we run into some problems. Because someone might say, hey, I know you're from Utah and this is banned. So if online gambling is banned, there's no way you can have a gambling license to even function in the capacity. And then they go, well, wait, I have a VPN, but I'm not going to tell you I have a VPN, but I'm going to Google where I live. And surprise, I actually live in Ethiopia. And there's no way of proving further, like, what evidence do you have to say you're actually from Ethiopia? Well, I searched my house online and it pointed me where my house is in Ethiopia. Like, see, there it is right there. And that's the concern that I have, where because this is so currently generally unregulated, like, there's no like legal, there is a legal argument to be had, but it makes it very, very hard to prove who is functioning in a legal capacity, who can do this stuff legally, and who isn't. And then also because of like age.
So no, sorry, Joe. So if all of this was legal, you'd have no problem with it?
In the current world that we live in, I have to function in the legal capacity for this conversation.
What?
Well, I can.
Does that make sense? Like, I mean, unless we want to make up some,
please.
Yeah, like unless like we want to participate in hypotheticals in a hypothetical land where I can do whatever I fucking want, I'd ban gambling outright. Like, that's my stance on it. But I'm not gonna get that yet because there's a couple of states and a lot of parts of the country that are opening it up. No different than the university, no different than my state, New Jersey, which made online gambling and sports betting way easier now. So we're not going to live in a world or enter a world where gambling is illegal outright. So I still have to function in a legal capacity when I talk about these things.
Sure.
I'm going to throw it to Hard Wooden Sock.
I have a question for everybody.
fun.
So does everybody have anyone have like an issue, like if people are if just a person is gambling on stream, or is the main issue like these gambling websites sponsoring certain streamers, giving them codes to entice other people to gamble as well? Like, if we
Yes.
is that where the bigger issue is, or is it gambling on streams altogether?
It's
Well,
a
the
mixed bag,
second
I feel.
problem, yeah, the second problem is much bigger than the first, but the first is still an issue. And as Sparky said, there's worse things on this platform. That's true, but that doesn't mean we should allow this as well. Just because there's other bad things doesn't mean we can't tackle this bad thing. And I do think it's a bad thing. Now,
Yeah.
Joe Lewis mentioned that we don't live in a hypothetical world, and that's also true. But we can talk about whether Twitch, regardless of the legality, outside of online spaces or even inside all online spaces, Twitch does not have to, just because something is legal, Twitch does not have to automatically allow it. And so I think that Twitch has the right, and I think probably an ethical duty to ban or prevent things like this if they can.
Well, do you think like a reasonable like first step would be to ban these gambling websites to sponsor their partners? Like, do you think that's reasonable, like a first step, instead of banning all gambling outright first? If as long as like I feel like if you cut off that that monster, right, of gambling websites sponsoring streamers, you might see gambling streams just disappear, because then all of a sudden these streamers aren't necessarily enticed to gamble on stream because they're not getting all that money back. I feel like that would honestly solve the issue without going into allowing people to not to gamble.
Well, we're putting the cart before the horse. Like, I think the first thing that we need to do before we can even determine about what is a solution, we have to determine if there is a problem. So I guess we really need to get down to the heart of whether or not gambling streams are a problem. Now, we keep conflating a whole bunch of other things that I'm not even sure occurred, right? So, like, just the idea, like the way the question was posed, it just talked about gambling streams in general. Now, if people start doing things like raffles, like obviously those things require, like paid raffles, those things require a gaming license, it becomes illegal. I don't think anyone here would disagree with that. That's just 100% illegal. And I think all of us would probably agree with the idea that we don't want Twitch to be doing things like, to be promoting illegal things on their platform. Or even if we did want them to, we know that they shouldn't. I think we can all agree with that. So that's like the whole nother point. The idea about like them getting kickbacks from sponsorships in order to do something, whatever. As long as they're disclosing to these people that they are being sponsored, as long as they're disclosing that, I think that's 100% fine. And I think most of us would have no problem with that either, because there's not a problem with being sponsored. There's a problem when you try to make something sound like it's like not generic, it's organic, and that you're doing something like for fun while you're being paid to do something. It's really, really smarmy. We all know this. There's there are legal ramifications for doing that. You need to say this is a paid advertisement from so and so. That's go ahead.
Yeah, no, my issue. So if everything is on the up and up, which is this keeps coming back from like a legal standpoint, that we're really transparent, we let everybody know these things. Are we then okay with a bunch of young men and I guess some young women like getting gambling addiction so early in their lives?
Well,
It's like it's not something you can just kick, right?
So the point I was going to finish making, right? I'm glad that you went there, because that's the next step, right? So now that we've gotten rid of, we don't need to conflate any other extra nonsense onto it. We can actually talk about the issue at hand. Do we have a problem? I'm glad you said that, making it very square, very clear, so we can actually confront it. Do we have a problem with streamers gambling? That's the real problem. Let's not talk about any other nonsense and conflate anything else there. If we want to add anything else, we can go ahead and do that afterwards. But if we don't at least establish this basic foundation, then all other conversations are going to be ancillary and nonsensical, because there's going to be all of this underlying stuff that we're not getting at. So I'll say for sure, I don't have a problem with people gambling. I don't have a problem with I do have a problem with minors gambling, but I don't think it depends. If a person isn't targeting their stuff towards children, then I don't think that they should be held accountable if children happen to watch it. Like for example, if someone decided that they were going to make porn on Pornhub, and then later on they got some like analytical data that ended up demonstrating that all of the viewership for their porn happened to be people in 15 to 17 year old age. I wouldn't tell that person that they're doing something wrong for that, nor would I tell that person they shouldn't be able to make their porn that they were literally targeting towards adults. I don't think a person should be held accountable for people that are viewing their things, as long as they are not targeting it towards children, and they're doing everything reasonable things to ensure that it's like their target audience is adults. I think as it stands now, Twitch has a thing that basically, which we all know doesn't do very much, but at least they have it to where you have to label your stream for adults or for children, which like changes your advertisements that you'll be able to receive, and your revenue in that regard. It does restrict certain accounts for people who have parent locks and things like that. And I think as long as a person has tagged that, I don't see a problem with them doing something on their stream.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm gonna throw
it's
it
an add-on for
to.
that
I'm gonna throw it. Wait. I'm gonna throw it to Sparky. But first, did you say make corn on Pornhub or make porn on Pornhub?
Porn. I said porn. Maybe
Okay.
I misspoke. I meant porn.
Just making sure.
No,
Okay,
he's
good.
really into cuckoldry porn
It
since
makes
he wants to
both,
get into
right?
that industry. So he mixed
It's
the two
not-
words there.
I want to get into it. I've been doing these videos
Oh,
for
yeah,
a long
sorry,
time now.
sorry.
What do you? Okay.
No, I'll actually follow up with Fanatic and say yes. I don't care if people stream gambling. It is up to the parents to actually monitor what their children are watching. It is not the idea of the state to do it. It's not the idea of even Amazon Incorporated, who happens to own Twitch, to do it.
So that's a huge dog whistle right there, because we all know that there are some minority groups in this country who don't have that parental stability, and you're sacrificing all of them to the lambs when you say it has to be up to the parents.
Why is everything a dog
that puts
whistle?
people who are in a vulnerable situation to get exploited.
But again, wait, can I this question?
Hold on. No, I've got to do this. Look, stop using that term dog whistle, because only dogs can hear them. So if you're hearing it, guess what? Woof woof. Come on. Look, the idea behind the whole dog whistle thing is only certain people can hear it. Look, I am not signaling to anyone. I think that it should not be controversial at all to say that parents should be responsible for their freaking children.
But it's also not controversial to say that people can dog whistle whether intended or unintended. That was the problem with Donald Trump, right? That people thought that he was dog whistling.
There's always certain people always hearing dog whistles.
Black people, you can just say it. It's cool.
No, I'm not saying
when I
black
hear
people.
it's up to the parents, I hear it's up to white affluent parents to take care of their kids. The rest, the rest of the parents and kids out there can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, if the parents
that wasn't
watching
even
out for their
remotely
kids,
said
it's not
or
an issue.
inferred.
But
that wasn't
that's the thing. Like,
when your solution is for the parents, that means that solution doesn't include
parents? Oh my
these
God.
other people, right? Who don't have
the horror, the sheer horror.
Not
the
every
parents who
kid
actually
has
do
a
have
right
time with the
children.
dog.
Not every child.
Okay, wait. Hold on a gosh darn second. I'm gonna throw it to Wick. Wait, Wick. He had his hands up. He was polite. You go.
So yeah, not every child has a responsible parent, and if they did, great, that would be grand. We would have a far less problems. But the sad fact is that not every parent is responsible. Not every parent does their job. Not every parent performs their duty. Do I have a problem with people streaming gambling on Twitch? Yes, I do. It glorifies it. It promotes it, whether they intend to or not. I think that we should not allow this to happen because it has a lot of ethical and bad consequences going down the road. It promotes it, it glorifies it. And do I have a problem with people gambling in general in the privacy of their own home or whatever? Sure, whatever. Do your thing. But going on Twitch or a platform like that to where you are putting yourself out there, where you are basically performing for people. That's what Twitch is. It's a performance platform. Children are going to view it. Children are going to watch it, and not every parent is able to properly do their job, and so it creates a lot of harm. And I think we shouldn't allow it.
Okay,
basically, you're making the same argument that this is the
well, let me throw it. Sorry, let me throw it. Well, finish your point, Fanatic. Then I'll go to Cutsleeve.
I was going to say this is the exact same argument that we use, and I'm inclined to agree with you somewhat, Wick. This is the same argument that we use for like sex education, right? We recognize that a lot of parents are too squeamish about the topic of sex to actually have the conversation with their children. So as a result, the children are harmed if we don't actually find some way of educating them. I totally understand that premise. When it comes to things like gambling, on Twitch, right? There's a bunch of things where I feel like we're going too far, right? Because we recognize that children will be exposed to plenty of things that parents don't want their children to be exposed to, right? Maybe like gory games like Mortal Kombat. Like that game is way too mature for young audiences, but it doesn't matter. Like streamers will play that game, and I don't think we should ban that game from Twitch, or any other like particularly gory game. Maybe a lot of parents would feel that Call of Duty and games like that, in which you're running around shooting and killing people, are really problematic to be displaying to young children in particular. And I would agree with that, but I would not ban that on Twitch. I do think that there is some sort of responsibility that we should be putting on parents. However, I do recognize that we normally legislate and create policies for the bad actors, for the people that are going to slip through the cracks. I just don't think gambling is one of those things where I feel like it's so severe that we need to make sure that we restrict it. But I'll follow up on that later.
So the difference.
Nope. Cutsleeve.
Right, and so two things. One, I think I personally don't care but I think it's funny that when AU tried to call out aircraft for dog whistling, he literally did a dog whistle. He said like, "Oh, when you say responsible parents, you only mean white people," which dog whistles that black people don't have responsible parents or other minorities don't have responsible parents.
That's not a nation of
No,
lower
what the
expectations.
fuck?
Way to go.
Sir, I'm trying to finish. I don't care, right? I don't care about the dog whistle. I know you didn't mean it, so I don't take it personally. But on the other hand,
Like,
I
I
mean, whistle
explicitly
just
said it. That's
acknowledged
not
the
a
dog
dog
whistle.
whistle.
sir. Okay.
Cutsleeve has the floor.
again, I don't like the fact that Fnatic went first because we basically agree, and I'm gonna like repeat most of the stuff. But like again, we can agree that an action is unethical, but it doesn't assert a ban. But like smoking, again, going back, like smoking is unethical. It kills 500,000 people a year, and it does have great influence. It's been scientifically shown that
Wait,
people
how's that unethical?
wait, it kills 500,000 people a year, and by smoking, you encourage other people to smoke, and smoking inherently is addictive. So like it's just been scientifically proven. Like when you see people smoke, you're more likely to smoke.
Bro,
So
if there's a Twitch streamer who is promoting chain smoking on the platform to an audience without an age limit, I'd say that'd be a problem.
Cutsleeve has the floor, but Cutsleeve, try to wrap. I know. Look, there are lots of great like Shakespearean soliloquies going on, but if we could like, I don't know if we could, I know people like to like do a lot of talk, but
things it'll be
Sorry.
like infinitely easier to wrap up if people didn't interrupt me. But I mean,
That's
the
a mod,
point
you
is,
nature
dumb
of the
fuck.
beast, nature of the beast.
like-
All right, go ahead.
if it's unethical and it's addictive and people get into it, that doesn't mean necessarily it should be banned. We can agree that it's unethical and that it shouldn't be banned.
And that it shouldn't be
I just
promoted.
want to respond real
Yeah,
quick
Wick.
to
Go ahead, Wick.
yeah, I just want to respond real quick to Fnatic's point there. I think there's a substantive difference between violence in video games and gambling. I think gambling has far more evidence to point to it as being harmful, as being something that causes addiction and things like that. Whereas I think the evidence towards violence having an effect on children is more wishy-washy. There's less there. But I do understand your point in that there are as Cutsleeve mentioned, there are other things that are equally bad and could be equally much of an issue. But I mean, that's not the topic at hand. The topic at hand is gambling, and I think, in my opinion, what I would like to see, because of all the points I made before, I won't, for the sake of brevity, I won't bring them up again. It's just not a good idea for Twitch to
Wait.
allow this to happen. That's all.
You have the whole same standard to smoking, right? Should like Twitch not allow smoking?
If someone is
Smoking and-
promoting smoking on stream, they should not do it, and it should be banned. Yes.
It's
Okay,
not
wait,
the
no,
same.
wait. No. It is the same. It is the same. Wait, let me ask you the question then, because I don't. Okay, promoting is a total different question. Let's get to the bottom of that then. Do you have a problem with someone gambling on stream without like quote unquote promoting it, or what is? Yeah, like let's just say that.
Oh,
you have a problem
that's
with that?
hard to say in a vacuum. It really is, because it's context dependent. If someone is like is normally streaming just League of Legends or something and decides one day, hey, I'm gonna play a few rounds of blackjack at the tables, whatever. But when you say, hey, gang, we're going to casino, the online casino today at whatever online casino site is popular that they're going to, and we should all go there and watch me gamble, and that's what your stream's title is, and that's what you're actually selling yourself as or presenting yourself as, then I think I have a problem with it.
Dude, you got so insanely and unnecessarily specific. It's really simple. For a person to gamble on stream, I think you and I both agree. For a person to smoke a cigarette on stream is like basically de facto promoting cigarettes, because we obviously know that those are imitatable, like whatever. And if people have parasocial relationships in which they look up to a person, then they're more likely to try to engage in things that they see that person do. Like clearly, like it's de facto. No, I don't say de facto. This is clearly something that's influencers doing would inspire other people to do. In the same sense, so would gambling. I totally agree with you there. And I agree that gambling would be harmful in that way if young people were able to start accessing gambling and were to do something from it. So then now I need you to actually engage with the thing that we're trying to present to you and tell me, would you see a notable difference between something like cigarettes and gambling? And if so, what would be the distinction?
Okay, so here's the difference, right? So if
Thanks, Vic.
my whole streams, yeah, you're welcome. My whole content, if my whole content was based around me chain smoking, look how much fun I could have chain smoking to my audience. And guys, look, I bought 1 pack of cigarettes. I could make even more cigarettes. I could profit from my chain smoking. Yes, that'd be a fucking problem.
Wait,
It's way different than me
that's not
playing
answer to the
COD.
question.
One time I died,
Again,
I took a hit
Agent,
from a
I'm
vape.
glad. So Agent didn't
let's
say
go
anything
back
of
to the
value. Go
question.
ahead. Can you answer the question? Because Agent 10 didn't say anything of value, please.
Okay, so to be clear, your question is there a substantive difference between someone smoking on stream, which promotes smoking because of the parasocial relationships, and someone gambling on stream, which because of the parasocial relationships, kids want to emulate their heroes, etc. Is that your question, just to be clear? Okay, so yes, I do think there is a substantive difference between the two. The substantive difference is that simply having a habit such as smoking or swearing or something like that, um, it is harmful, but I think it does less harm than promoting gambling, which is much easier, I would say, for a child to have access to than a
Okay,
cigarette.
wait,
But
wait,
I
wait,
don't know.
Wait,
no,
no, this is just not true. Wait, this is just
Oh,
not true. Speaking as a high schooler, more people smoke than like gamble.
okay,
This
maybe
is
Yeah,
just
not.
not.
I haven't been to high
yeah,
school in
but
a long ass time, so I'll
you don't have to be,
stipulate
but
to
we
that.
have the numbers. We know that the vast majority of people that start smoking, the average age of beginning smoking in this country is around 13 years old. We know that the vast majority of people who start smoking start smoking at extremely young age. Literally less than 5% of smokers start after the age of 18. So we know that this is something that's really, really
Wh-
impactful to young kids.
why are
If
we
we want to talk about what's actually harming children, things like cigarettes and nicotine, which literally have all of the noted health benefit, health degradation that we're aware of, is significantly more harmful and more prevalent a problem than gambling. Let's not go there, but that's okay. The fact of the matter is, you would agree then that they are both harmful. So if we
Yes.
recognize that they're both harmful, then I need you to explain to me what would be your justification besides the one that you just gave, which is clearly just inaccurate. What would be your justification for banning gambling while allowing cigarettes?
Because the content is gambling.
I'm
The
asking Wick
content.
because you don't talk.
Okay, well, I'm giving you the answer because Wick's not giving it.
Agent, your
The
answers have been
content of
awful
you
so
going
far.
to a gambling stream is the gambling. You don't go to smoking streams. You go to gambling streams.
And I
That's the
mentioned that before.
difference.
Yeah, I
Well,
mentioned
a
that
lot of these
before. There is a
influencers do other
substantive
things
difference.
besides just gambling,
Just
right?
can I finish?
That's
There is a
such a bad
substantive
argument.
difference
No, it's not.
between someone on a one-off going to a gambling site at the end of their stream and then actively promoting their stream as this is a gambling stream. You understand that there is a substantive difference to that.
Okay,
And if
sure.
someone was like, if this is the smoking stream, I'd ban that. If this was, hey kids, let's start smoking, or we're going to be smoking stream and title, and that's how you're presenting yourself,
Wait,
I don't think that
but
should be allowed.
wait,
However, I
Okay.
do think in both
what
cases,
did
can I finish? Can I finish,
yeah, go,
Cutsleeve? In
go
both
You
cases,
can go ahead.
I do not think it should be banned for a streamer to go on a gambling website every once in a while and do a hand of blackjack or two. I don't think that should be banned. What I think should be banned and not allowed from the platform, to be very specific to you, is promoting your stream as a gambling stream, to advertise it as such, and to present yourself as such. Does that make a sense?
Okay,
Is
thank
that
you.
reasonable?
I want to go to Sparky because Sparky raises.
Okay, so people are against gambling, I'm guessing, because the addictive nature of gambling. Is this a false assumption? Can someone please tell me yes or no?
I would
It's
say
one of many problems, sure.
Okay, so gaming also has an addiction. There's been several.
not even close to the same.
Whoa,
Don't even try to
whoa.
make that comparison.
Calm down.
Um,
Calm down.
Let him try.
Okay,
I
look.
want to hear this argument.
Look,
Curious.
this has been shown anecdotally to happen as far as even children being neglected by their parents while they were busy playing World of Warcraft. If you're really going to sit there and clutch your pearls over gambling, how many people have actually gambled before? I grew up in the redneck Riviera, for Christ's sakes, in Biloxi, Mississippi, where there are casinos everywhere. We saw gambling addiction. We saw problems. Yes, there are problems with it, but you know what? The vast majority of people who go to these places usually don't have an addiction. Watching someone play, if you are going to be so influenced by something you watch on a computer screen or your phone screen to be pushed to do something and then become addictive, well, then everything should be banned. This is a ridiculous argument. This is a non-controversy. I don't understand why people are freaking out. I do think there should be an age gate on things like gambling, like what YouTube does. It makes sense. But beyond that, banning it, come on. And what? People were upset because, oh, this one guy was sponsored by an online casino. Well, who are you to tell people how to advertise, for Christ's sakes? I've seen some ridiculous advertisements.
Who's the
All right,
person?
that's what we're
Sparky?
here.
I actually
Hold on.
agree. I somewhat see where he's coming from because like even in the gambling or even in the gaming, there's gambling in the gaming. So like even then you
Yes,
can make
and
a
that's
comparison
highly
between-
regulated.
Highly
So
okay,
you're
so
upset
why-
there
Yes.
is enough
Where were you?
regulation on it.
Where
Is
were
that
you
what it
a
is?
year and a half ago when Overwatch got like raked
why
over
are
the
we
coals by
talking about
multiple
bans,
governments
and
about
why are we
chances
talking
in
about
loot
regulation?
boxes?
You're saying regulation is good, right? It's highly regulated. That's why it's passed.
It matters what it
Why are
is.
we
It could be
talking
good. It
about
could be
bans?
bad.
Wait, why are we talking about bans?
No, you can
said
highly
really
regulate something to make it legal, but like not easily accessible, to make sure it doesn't like take over your society where you have a bunch of like
Exactly.
Zoomers who are all addicted to gambling and getting into credit card
As
debt.
Right, but
as an example for
Exactly.
Grimace, right? Like you could have somebody who is a minor walk into a casino, and if they can't sit at a slot machine, that's impossible. I implore you, if you are on the age of 18, to try. You'll fuck around and find out. There's ways to, in the physical world, regulate things in a way that is equal and just. And then there's also, in the online space, we can acknowledge that there are sort of problems and stopgaps. As an example, Sparky, like, should I be allowed to make money off of my chat community?
Why not?
So the answer is yes. Okay, great. So am I allowed to make money off of my chat community advertising a gambling website?
No.
Yeah. I don't see a problem with it.
Okay, let's make this a little bit more complicated. Should I be allowed to encourage people to participate in a gambling website when I understand that online gambling isn't legal in all 50 states?
I don't see a problem with it. I really don't. See, the problem is you're
supporting?
no.
Wait, you're
Hold on,
supporting
hold on,
like
hold on.
like Sparky. Listen. What I rhetorically did to you is walk you into a wall. So you are in support of me, content creator, functioning in an illegal practice where the practice that I'm advocating for people to do is not legal in all 50 states. So I mean, I'm glad like we got there, but.
I'm tempted. I am very open to say whatever is right for you in your area, in your space. Look, I don't care what state you live in. That is your state's problem, not mine, not Twitch's or anyone else's. When it comes,
I don't have any. Wait, so I'm not responsible for that? I just want to make sure this is very clear.
You're
I would not be
your own
responsible.
actions, no one else's.
Oh
And
wait,
that's-
Sparky.
Oh wow, that's
Hold on,
not what reality is.
Joe,
All
let me
right.
ask one question. Joe, let me ask
He's
one
so
simple
dense he
question.
can't see the wall.
I know he can't, but it's okay. We're gonna help him really simply.
Oh, well, you don't
Sparky,
know.
How's
do
my
you
mic?
have okay, Sparky, do you have any problem whatsoever with people promoting illegal actions, like with people promoting illegal content on their streams?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about things like, hold on, can't say that TOS. If you're talking about drug use or something like that, no. But when it comes to things like that is innocuous, like gambling, which is legal almost everywhere. And by the way, most of these online casinos
It's not
happen to
innocuous.
be based.
Don't start rambling. Don't start
Calm
rambling.
down.
You're not answering the question.
Stop grasping at them.
All right, finish this.
Your
All right,
world is
this
still
is,
there.
finish
You're
up
not
this
answering the question.
exchange.
Okay,
this little
like really quickly.
exchange,
So just
and then
to
we'll
be
go to
sure,
Cutsleeve and stop.
got you. So you do have a problem with people promoting some illegal things you just said. Do you understand now that what the given that you just said that? Do you get why that would be a
If you're
contradiction?
promoting things like
Do you understand now why that would be a contradiction? The fact that you're saying you do have a problem with people promoting illegal things, while you're simultaneously saying to Joe that you don't have a problem with people promoting something that is illegal in literally every state.
Okay. So this is a false equivalence because gambling is not illegal in almost every state. It's
it's in
actually
every.
only illegal in 2 states, as Joe mentioned, and that is
Online
It's
gambling.
illegal.
Utah
So just to be
and
clear,
freaking, Hawaii.
there's
Who
a
cares?
difference. Just to be
No,
clear,
also
there's a very
Texas.
clear difference between illegal outright and different states having different guidelines and protocols, right? So Utah and Hawaii are on the far end of the spectrum. We can look at this in every single law. There's some states that allow abortion, like Texas, but they make it in such a way where it's so restrictive, where something that I have to ask a thick old pog woody is that do you have gas money or a car? Because like both of those things mean that to go to like one facility. On the other end, you have states that are incredibly restrictive and leave it up to the doctor and the patient. So both of these realities exist. Both of these realities exist for gambling.
So should you have to tailor everything based on every state in the world? No. When it comes down to it, if you base it for where you are, if you happen to live in, I don't know, New Jersey, where all you have to do to bet on a dog track is freaking make a phone call.
Wait,
then
I live
you
in
can
you.
actually
I
do
live
that.
in a state. I live in a state where online gambling is banned.
Is it?
Yes,
I
I
don't
live in
know.
Utah.
I don't know the laws of. You're not in Utah. I already
How do you know that?
All right,
How do you know
all
that?
right.
You're in New Jersey.
Stop
I know
investigating
you're in New
states.
Jersey.
Stop investigating whatever. All right, we're gonna go Cutsleeve, then hard sock, then the agent, then we'll probably do closing statements because.
First of all, I don't think it's doxing. I think Joe Lewis made it publicly clear that his
I know I was
home
kidding.
state is New Jersey. You're a New Jersey guy. But
I
again,
could show you right now that I don't.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. About
Yeah, I
that.
can
talking about
change my
summer
VPN
home,
address
guys.
too there, guy. Good job.
Summer home.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
how do you
like,
know I'm using a VPN? I just live here. What's a VPN?
So again, the point is because like I think I can see I'm not fully in agreement, but I can see AircraftSparky's point. I don't think legality is a substitute for morality. So like you guys wouldn't be like in favor of banning like all weed in all Twitch streams because it's illegal in some states. So there is some like middle ground between illegality and what should be allowed on Twitch. I don't think just because something's illegal, because there's a lot of stupid laws out there, that it should be banned on Twitch.
No, I would. So that's a bullet I would really readily buy. Yes, I would 100% think that that we should ban all weed smoking if weed was illegal in literally every state. I like the idea of us being a lot more lax on things like weed because of the fact that it is legal in a bunch of states now. So then it's basically, hey, if it's legal in your state, you can do it. Do I think weed should be illegal at all? No, I do not. But considering that it is illegal, I absolutely am in favor of banning it. I think anything that you're going to be displaying, especially knowing how impressionable people can be, especially in parasocial relationships, I think anything that you're doing, you should probably be restricted to not advocating for or encouraging others or influencing others to doing things illegal. So for that reason, if weed was something that was illegal in all states, I would 100% get behind making sure it's illegal, because I don't want other people to start engaging in behavior that's illegal such to their own detriment and catching cases and all sorts of nonsense. So yeah, I would
I
actually
don't want
ban
to
that.
catch you. Yeah, I don't want to catch you in some sort of like rhetorical trap, but like in Michigan, blasphemy is illegal. Would it be like? Would you say like being an atheist in Michigan should be banned on Twitch? I don't want to. Maybe you have some like sort of rule against that, but I don't want to
Wait,
catch you. I
it's
don't
not
want to-
enforceable underneath the Constitution. What are you talking about?
Okay, you know what? I think we're gonna go into closing statements because I feel like
Wait, but that wasn't. Yeah, that
anything.
wasn't the premise. The premise was if it's illegal, it should be banned. Nothing had to do with the Constitution.
That was such a
You
like,
put it-
No,
oh
he's
my god.
Okay,
It's
closing
okay.
statements.
We'll try. We'll try
Well,
again later. Let's
we'll
move
All
on.
right, we'll go to Sock. Closing
All right.
statement. Sorry.
All right, no worries. All right, so I think, as far as gambling itself, I think should be allowed on Twitch. I think the issue arises when you have these gambling websites that are partnering with these streamers and giving them codes to entice other people to start gambling, right, for their own benefit. So which is then encouraging people to possibly do illegal activity, get into an addictive practice, or anything else, right? I think that's like, you're directly telling them to engage in not necessarily negative behavior, but behavior that isn't necessarily legal, or might lead them down a bad path later in life. And I think like that is an issue. But if you're just like, if I'm just sitting here playing, slots by myself without any extra promotion or in giving out codes or anything, because I'm not enticing them to do it, right? So I don't know. I'm kind of playing the middle here, where let's ban these gambling websites from advertising or partnering with streamers, but not ban streamers from gambling. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Beautiful. All right, Agent.
And this is closing, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so one, right? The difference between gambling and smoking on stream. You hitting a vape after you got killed in a COD match is completely different versus your whole content on that channel is gambling. Then you getting endorsed by gambling sites, promoting it to younger children, which are on Twitch, because we know this. One, there's no age gate whatsoever. Example, Cutsleeves is around to run around at every panel and every other place on Twitch, and he's not even 18. We know big streamers like XQC via leak DMs the train wrecks. One is in Texas, which online gambling is illegal and uses a VPN to circumvent that, which should not be allowed whatsoever. And he's promoting not only illegal activity, but bad, horrible habits like gambling that's super addictive to young people in his audience. Gaming and gambling is not the same. WoW is pretty addicting, I guess. WoW has not ruined as many lives as gambling addiction has whatsoever. The fact that you guys think this is the same is a bit weird. Sparky, I believe you're the one who brought up that dumbass point. Cutsleeve, I really don't understand where you're trying to, like, I don't understand where you're hitting the wall here. Dude, it's not just because it's like bad. It's just because not only is it immoral to get these kids hooked on this and do nothing else, it's also that the Twitch streamers are profiting a fuck ton of money off of this. It's only the big streamers who are doing this. XQC, Trainwrecks, others like that, who's raking hundreds of thousands per stream while putting other people in a hole.
All right, thank you. And I didn't say this before; it was my fault. But try not to do pot shots like the closing statements because it leads to a whole
My bad.
set of things. But okay, Cutsleeve.
Right. So there are 3 points, but each of them are not very good ones. So the unethical point, I feel like most people have backed off, but again, smoking is unethical. And you wouldn't ban smoking. The like kids can get hooked on this point. Again, being around smokers makes you more likely to smoke. And in gaming, there's gambling, which is easily addictable. So that point is not very good. Like the idea that when you gamble, it's a gambling channel. Again, people can just do like the just chatting and smoking and like smoke while just chatting, and they can do that for hours and hours on end. That doesn't mean your whole content is smoking, and people's whole content isn't gambling. Like, if I more agree with Wick's point, which is if you want to say that if you want to ban a gambling channel, I would hear that as opposed to saying banning gambling in all instances of gambling, right? So if you want to do gambling, once every, however streams, that's cool. If there's a distinction between a gambling channel and someone who does gambling on occasion, I far understand that point more than banning gambling as a whole. There's no good arguments for banning gambling as a whole. Then there's the profit argument. Again, this is not a good argument because people profit from cigarettes all the time. People can get brand deals from cigarettes. The just chatting section where you just smoke up, like people can donate to you because of your content, which includes cigarettes, which means de facto you're profiting from cigarettes. So none of these arguments hold up to any water. And so no, smoking is not killing Twitch in either the ethical sense or the viewership sense. I yield.
Thank you for the yield, Sparky.
Yes. Look, when it comes down to it, is it ethical for people to gamble online? Don't know, don't care. I'm not into telling people others' morality and how they should live. What it comes down to is how people are selective with what offends them. We have people on here that sit there and say, "Oh, well, there's too many people, too many young people here on Twitch. The average age on Twitch, just according to a quick Google search, is around 21 years of age, which is legalized gambling. If you're still worried about that, don't worry. Stop referring to yourself as a coon lord on your streams because you might actually be trying to sexually exploit some 14-year-old maybe in your chat. I don't know.
thought
I think
jabs were
that's
banned.
disgusting. And so when it comes down to all of this, literally, people are selectively clutching their pearls. Look, I don't care if people gamble online. If you have problems, if you have an addiction, get it sorted out. It's not my job to actually be your ethical daddy or mommy or whatever, and nor should it be anyone else's. Allow people their independence and their ability to actually decide for themselves. For Christ's sake, stop trying to overregulate the world. Allow people to live their lives, let freedom ring, and Jesus Jones, just go out and touch some grass, man. This really isn't all that serious.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Joe.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that taking jabs to other creators in the space right now was something that Binks called out that you shouldn't do. So I'm not going to do that in that capacity, but I'll make sure to remind people moving forward that that's what Binks clarified, because Binks is the moderator here. It's not Geek or Danaba. With that being said, moving forward, I think there's a few steps that the Twitch must do. I think the first step that they have to do is make a category for these individuals to do their content in. I think it's the bare minimum. It's the same thing with hot tub streamers as that first level. That way they can figure out what to do in the AdSense in the short term. in the long term, they need to be collaborating preemptively with states that have different regulations around online gambling and seeing what type of guidelines and regulations that they could do in a way to make sure that they're not going to get sued. And that's, I think, the bare minimum that Amazon as a corporation could do to save their ass. Like, I understand Twitch is not really making them any money, but I also understand that, like, this is something that a lot of people consume content on. So I think it's something you should do moving forward. Also, something that is kind of maybe unrelated, maybe not. I'm not exactly sure. We have precedent for different types of activities that you can make money on Twitch as a platform, and it seems to be that this is another example of content creators at the very top finding a hole in the system in order to make money in very nefarious ways. I don't think anyone would disagree with the nefariousness that those like XQC and Trainwrecks are like moving and navigating under. And if you're in support of that's fine, but I mean, don't ever critique what a leftist does on the internet again. Like, I don't know.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Grimace.
Oh, yeah. My stance is we should probably, from an ethical standpoint, Twitch should ban gambling. They should ban hot tub streams. They should try to keep it as just casual conversation and video games. You can't have kids who come onto this platform as like teenagers and people who aren't experienced with having to deal with things like addiction come onto this platform to watch their favorite streamer Ninja play some Fortnite and leave with a crippling addiction that's going to put them into bankruptcy. I don't know if you looked at the stats, like 23 million people a year get bogged down into debt due to compulsive gambling. That number is somewhere around $55,000. And we know that younger adults are 2 times more likely and are more susceptible to online gambling in general because they're trying to make a big win instead of actually focusing on themselves, getting their education, and focusing on their career. So these kids are coming onto these platforms. They're following their favorite streamers who then get a gambling sponsorship and now have given them the addiction, this gambling addiction. And also they're coming out with other bad ideas about how women should be interacting with the general populace with the hot tub streams. And they're coming out radicalized politically, thinking that like Marx had something useful to say. And like in general, we need to move away from this. We need to make sure that people aren't getting overexposed to these ideas and these behaviors that it cripples the rest of their life, because we know that human beings in general can easily be addictive, not just chemically but habitually as well. And we're apt to fall into a lot of different fallacies, like sunk cost, for instance. But good news for Sparky is I took my CRT lens out and I looked at gambling as a problem. Luckily for you, although we know that racism is regular, in this case, when we look at gambling, mostly whites are affected by crippling credit card debt, and the minorities are a little bit below as far as results. So from that front, I guess that's okay.
Sounds
Which
good.
is an excellent segue into our last question.
It is. Fanatic?
Yeah, I think for me, ultimately, I'm never going to get behind the idea of just banning things unless there's something like illegal about them. Like we talk about gambling being addictive, but we also know that video games are incredibly addictive. But the thing is, we typically don't ban things just because they have a potential for harm. We ban things because typically we try to use some sort of legality. In the case of like Trainwrecks in his stream, him and XQC, their audiences are particularly older. I don't know if they're older than the average, but I know that they did the last time I looked, the only data I have, it was from 2018 for XQC. His average viewer was like 20 years old. So if while 20 years old, you're not allowed to gamble. I think at 20 years old, we're allowed to expose you to things that maybe you might not be able to partake in, like gambling, without the expectation that you're immediately going to participate in that. We kind of we remove all the restrictions on adult content and things like that once someone hits 18. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little absurd. I don't think Twitch is a gaming website only. I think it's definitely all the other things. I remember when Twitch was a gaming website. I was one of the first people to start streaming music, and I was like made like a big case over the fact that they wanted to ban me. This is back when I used to be quite a bigger streamer, because I was doing video games as opposed to doing. I was doing music as opposed to doing video games. They've since switched that, and now you can be primarily everything else. Before you had to primarily be a video gamer, even if you were doing anything else. So it's no longer that. I don't think that we should be banning things that aren't illegal. It's just that simple. XQC, I would say if they're again promoting things without like letting people know that they have like sponsorship for, that would be illegal. That's why we would ban it. Same with train wrecks. If they're aiming their content at children, then it would be something that should be illegal. We'd have a problem with that. But they're not doing either of those things to my knowledge, so I don't see any reason why this thing should be banned.
Thank you very much. Finally, Wick.
Okay, so I didn't have a lot of time to do a real big dig into the data here, and some arguments have been made that I agree with, some I disagree with. I will say that we do not need legality in order for Twitch as a platform to say something is something they want on their stream or something they don't want on their stream. And when it comes to gambling and promoting gambling, I would be fine, as Sock put it out, if every once in a while someone wanted to go play slots on their stream. Don't have a huge problem with that. If every once in a while someone wants to smoke or toke up on their stream, okay, whatever. My issue comes, and where I think the danger lies, is when we have promotions of these things. And I would have a problem if a cigarette company, for example, were to sponsor a Twitch streamer and get them to promote their cigarettes and their contents to their audience. I would have a huge problem with that. I would also have a huge ethical problem with gambling sites who use promo codes and things like that to promote to the audience to uh, get people to come to their online casinos and gamble that way. I don't think innocuous problem. I think gambling is a real problem. It leads people into crippling debt. AuGrimace put some excellent stats on there. I haven't verified them independently, but I have no reason to disbelieve him. When it comes down to it, the ethical decision here is for Twitch to somehow rein in promotions of harmful things such as gambling, and that is my stance on this.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Yeah, that's the end of the first topic. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone, for joining up. We got a lot more viewers during that conversation. So we'll go into a quick little. We usually have 3 topics, but the second topic we keep, Danabo calls a Danabo, who you can support by going to Shellshock CBD. Promo code Danabo, 10% off. He made me memorize that to support him. We're gonna do a little palate cleanser. There's a little fun topic. After it's a little heated sometimes. Need to wind down. And Danabo said I could pick the topic. I have and this is an open thing. I am obsessed with this movie called that old movie that M. Night Shyamalan's doing. I don't know if it's good or bad. Do you think it looks good or bad? Anybody?
I've seen it.
I saw it in the theater. I thought it was okay. It didn't do anything special, but I thought it was okay. It was worth the watch.
Was it did it have like a twist? Like a M. Night Shyamalan twist?
Yo, no spoiling.
No
I
spoilers.
haven't seen it yet. I don't
I
want
haven't either. I want to know if it's good.
A problem I have with movies, and maybe Fanatic can attest on this too, is that it's not a spoiler. When you build this particular premise, it can be as interesting as you want it to be, but you still have to make a movie around it. I think it's the best way to describe that movie without spoiling it.
I feel like there are no good movies anymore. Like, I don't know if it's like a COVID thing or what. Like, am I crazy?
I have a list.
There are. There's some great ones.
What's some good new ones?
Okay, well, okay. Taste may vary, but I liked the Tomorrow War. I thought it was a little silly at places, but it was a good
It's
action.
really good.
It's a good action sci-fi flick.
I agree. It's a great movie. There's literally no one can really give any substantial arguments for why that movie is bad. I think Tomorrow War is a great movie. Also, my friends and I, we all got together and made lists of the best movies. We all made a top 30 movie list, and then we took turns watching all of each other's movies from their lists and things. There's a lot of great movies out there. I think Whiplash was particularly good. I don't know how long ago.
Oh yeah, no, I'm thinking new though. I'm thinking this year and last year.
Oh, this year. I don't know if it was.
Yeah,
this year.
like super new movies.
Yeah. Besides Tomorrow War, I haven't really seen anything this year that was.
Can we all agree the new Wonder Woman was garbage?
Yeah, of course.
I think that
And I
in
think
terms of
COVID,
movies
I
and-
think COVID hurt that one, to be honest.
I didn't see it.
and White Men, but I think
Oh God!
if I were to think of racially identifiable white man gets sad for being racially identifiable. I think a movie that really stuck out to me this year is Zola. It's based on that tweet thread from the woman of the same name, where she basically the dramatization of a situation she ran into when she was getting I forget the term, but essentially hustled by a pimp. and her tweet exchanges, the interaction between her that pimp's bottom and then having to deal with the situation. It's pretty good.
One movie
But
I liked from like a
Fanatic-
couple years ago was Midway. Like I love like war movies, and I think Midway was actually really good. I think that was like what 2019. Like
Oh, another recent movie that was pretty good. It wasn't this year, but The Hunt. I saw that the other day on Hulu.
Oh,
yeah, and
loved
we're
it.
forgetting
Good.
Tenet came out during COVID.
Tenet
It was
was
one of the
was
best
super good.
movies
Tenet,
ever.
I'm not sure how I feel about Tenet. I loved the premise, but it was just it left me
Rewatch it
wanting more.
again.
It left me wanting
Rewatch it
more.
again. It's an amazing movie.
Okay, I'll
I
have to
can't-
check it out. You're probably right because there's a lot to it. It was very
Yes.
complex, and
Yes.
so probably one view through probably wasn't enough. The premise was amazing. The
sure.
acting was great. I think the dialogue was good. I think some of the cinematography, some of the choices, especially at the ending scene, I won't reveal it, but that whole ending arc left
The
me
sound
a
on that
little
movie
confused.
was atrocious.
I couldn't
my
hear the movie.
God.
That was my
No,
critique.
it's really bad. Sound wise, I don't know what the freak happened. I watched it in theaters at certain parts, and it was like I literally I watched it first at home, and then I went into theaters and watched it for the third time. And it was like there were entire segments where it's like I watched this twice, so I know what this dialogue is. Without having watched it twice, it's literally like unintelligible. It doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, and I get the idea of
I
like,
know,
yeah, go for it, Cut. What's up?
I know this is like a Zoomer take, but in your top 30 movies list, did you put like The Social Network in there? That's my favorite.
I did not even
Your
close.
favorite movie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's crazy.
Garbage.
Did you
Yeah,
enjoy
there's-
that? I mean, I can see finding it educational, but did you enjoy it?
The Social Network.
It was like
Yeah,
a documentary.
it was. I loved it.
I did love The Wolf of Wall Street. I mean,
Great.
I thought that was.
Oh hell yeah! I
That's
based
a-
my life on that movie.
Who
Yeah.
here seen The
Best movies
Prestige?
made in, like,
Oh,
the
The
Oh, The
last
Prestige
year.
really
Prestige,
good.
that was amazing. Yeah,
Hell
That's
yeah.
like-
That's a top 10 movie.
I like the
That-
illusions
that was-
though. The other
that was
magic
the one with
movie.
number one.
Tesla, right? With the Tesla and the
You
okay,
gotta
yeah,
live
I'm
the
thinking the
trick.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
All right.
number one.
So
Really?
the best movie ever made, in
Actually,
my
me too,
opinion, is
Fanatic.
Twister. Like what was that back in 1999?
Not
Oh, I
really.
love
that
that
movie.
No,
Was it
Harlan
95?
Sock, we're
Are you
friends, but I don't
sure?
know if we
Mm.
can be anymore.
Why, dude? Like that
Twister
inspired me.
sucked. Twister
I
was a bad movie.
No, I originally wanted to be like a fucking storm chaser off that movie, dude. Like it was so good. I loved it.
no, I kind of get that. Because look, I went to OU. I actually did a little bit of work with the storm chasers because I used to be a hurricane hunter. I used to fly through hurricanes for a living. Chasing weather is awesome.
That's cool.
When it comes to the movie Twister, it wasn't a bad story at all. I think some of the CGI was a little overdone, but it was a decent story. But when I'm looking at when we're talking about things that just recently come out, have any of y'all seen The Black Widow?
No.
Yes.
No.
Oh,
It's
It,
not
it
what
was
you think it is,
supposedly
it's
written in
still pretty good.
11 days, and it
Good.
kind of
Felt like
played
it.
out that way. But I thought the cinematography was great.
cinematography was great.
Oh, does
The
anyone
thing is, for
like,
Marvel movies, I've never. I was gonna say for Marvel movies. I don't think Marvel actually makes movies. I
They
think most of-
don't.
yeah, they're all trash. But like the thing is, because I know that I'm not going to get a movie experience when I go and watch them. Like I enjoy them. I enjoy the experience because I know I'm not watching a movie. I turn my brain off and I just sit there and like be entertained by like flashy colors and good animation and stuff. But overall, those aren't movies. None of them. Like they're all garbage. Like if I'm trying to look at them as movies, they're just not.
I
Oh,
hear
you
you.
didn't
What,
like
what would be
Thor
your favorite
Ragnarok?
movie, Fanatic? Because
The Prestige. The Prestige is my number one favorite movie.
Okay.
He said the Prestige.
Yeah.
Wait, did you
Yeah,
guys
you
like?
can't argue with that choice, really.
Were you gonna say
Did you
Cutsleeve?
guys like the Karate Kid trilogy? I really like that.
The old
The
one?
original,
was
the original
garbage.
Karate Kid trilogy. I mean,
This is such a bad take. The
no,
trilogy.
it had some nostalgic stuff to it. I thought it was
The
kind of
first
fun
movie,
here and
maybe.
there. Yeah. Well, no, the with Will Smith's son, it just didn't
No,
grab
no,
anything.
That was like
Okay,
the fifth movie.
okay. So
That's
my
the
most
reason.
enjoyed movie of all time, my most watched movie of all time, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. That's an excellent movie. Great comedy. Made me laugh the whole way through.
It's
What-
Jurassic
what-
Park and then the Prestige
okay,
for
let
me.
me see.
Actually, both
Army
them
of
are in
Darkness.
swap.
I'm just gonna.
Jurassic Park. Ugh.
Army of Darkness.
I
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to appeal to you
Yeah.
guys. Okay, how about this? How about here's something that you guys might like. I really like Catch Me If You Can.
That's a good
Does
movie.
that-
That's
That
good.
is actually a great
Okay.
movie.
Great movie.
I-
Yeah, I'd agree.
And look,
good.
the Leonardo DiCaprio, he's really done very few like
Bad
flops.
movies.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. No, he only does good stuff. Like
Yeah.
90% of his stuff is good stuff. Like 95% of his stuff is good stuff. I will watch a movie just because he's in it, having no idea what it's about. Like
True.
I
Oh
will
my
do it.
gosh, I love
He's
those.
always wins.
Y'all like The Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise?
In my
Tom
top
Cruise
30.
does good movies.
I haven't watched that
In
one,
my
Joe.
top 30.
All you need
I
is
heard
kill is
people
what they
hate
should have
it.
kept the title, but yeah.
Okay, hey,
great
all right,
title.
everybody, that's should be. We'll take a 5-minute break. Y'all gonna keep talking if you want, but no fighting. Don't just be chill. I'm gonna go just smoke a
Wait.
cigarette. Then we'll go
Yeah.
back to the third topic.
Yo, sorry,
Oh, wait, can you
Fanatic, did you
explain
see
something?
Summer of Soul yet?
I have not. What's that?
Watch it. It covers the culture fair in New York City. The Summer of Soul is at the same time as the moon landing
Right,
and
I'll
also
be right back,
Woodstock.
guys.
It's a really good documentary. It's Questwell's first documentary. And it's really impressive.
Wait,
Um,
Fanatic, as someone who likes The Edge of Tomorrow, explain the ending. I don't get it.
I can't do that. I don't want to spoil it.
No. Like I've watched it, but I don't understand.
Yeah, but
It's
no,
not that I don't want to
everyone's
spoil it
viewing.
for you. I don't want to spoil it for everyone else.
Oh,
I'll talk to you in
okay,
private
okay.
about it for sure, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
We do movie nights, man, on Fridays. You guys should come through for some of them. Like they're pretty good, and then we have like really pretty big, like great discussions on it afterwards. I think, yeah, man. I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of really good movies like on my list, but my friends do too. Like I think I'm going to be really biased to my list, but I think most movies are trash, right? But you just wait for the really good ones, and then your day is made, right? Like it's like you're not going to get great movies all the time, and that's good because when you get all the bad ones, it's going to make you really appreciate all the good ones. Arrival should be in my top 30. I haven't updated my list in a while. Arrival is an amazing freaking movie. Who hasn't seen that?
I've seen it, but I think it was 30 minutes too long. I think they could have cut down a lot on some of the slow kind of pans that they did. It was good, but it was too long. I was waiting for it to end.
Yeah,
I love it.
it's a really good film.
It's amazing. We used to do Bad Movie Tuesday. That's where we went through and we would like intentionally watch movies that were like really sketch. We weren't sure were bad, but were sketch. And then it like eventually jumped the shark and became let's watch the worst movies of all time. And oh man, we watched Transformers and that no Battleship, and that was we almost gave up.
It's
Rihanna.
It's impressively bad. It's on another level, man.
There's a way, like the thing that I hate about Hollywood is that I think it's totally possible for you to make a very bad movie and make it good. And an example that I can give that is like Snakes on a Plane, where basically everybody knew exactly what they were getting into when they read the plot and did it. So there wasn't like this level of like, we have to make this very like serious thing, like believable. That's why I think like, and again, hot take, I think as a franchise, the Fast and Furious franchise, one of the best top 3 franchises of all time. And it's because it's only because like it found a way to just do what it does really well and just not give a shit anywhere else. And the thing is that like and again, like my other hot take is that I firmly believe that Fast and Furious is the best live action anime franchise ever. And if you look at it, from an anime perspective, like watch the most recent one, and even like another example is Hobbs and Shaw. Beat for beat, it's anime. Like not even trying to hide, not even trying to hide it.
That's a great spin-off.
You're right.
No. Actually, I could test you. I think Scott versus the World is probably the best live action anime.
Scott Pilgrim.
You mean Scott Pilgrim?
Scott
was
Pilgrim.
it's a great
That's a really good movie. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
it's a
it's
good
good.
That movie.
It was very ahead of its time.
I think the problem with bad movies and where they become unwatchable to me is when they don't recognize or they try to be something they're not. So, for example, if they're just trying to be a straight action flick, but they try to put this deep meaning dialogue, but they obviously can't do it. I can't do it.
Ready Player One was a good movie.
Ready Player One. Ooh,
One of the best
those are-
movies made of recent, Baby Driver, hands down.
Yes, very good.
Oh my god, that movie is one of my favorite. Listen, it would have been in my top 30. There's a scene midway through the movie where a character, I'm not going to spoil anything, where a character does something that like completely abandons their character altogether in order to move the plot forward.
I
so
know
it
what you
lost
mean,
me. And it was just like, wait, no, this is not who you are. And it's like, look at you too. Of course. And I was like, what? That's not you. No. Aside from that, if they didn't have like that nonsense and they found a way to move the plot to where it got to without that, it would have been literally in my top 30. It's that
Oh, I'm
opening
allowed to
sequence
say
is probably the best
Oh, it's
opening sequence in
amazing.
any movie, period.
Yeah.
Period.
I
I'm
still
allowed
think
to-
that like for me all time, like there hasn't been a movie all time that's like tried to compete in my top 10, but Lighthouse is the closest for me. Like
I don't think I've seen it.
I walked out of that fucking impressed. Like there's no, and I can't think of something that I was like that impressed about. Especially like it's
I wish they
good.
made the Highlander
It's
movies
intense.
better. The only good Highlander movie was the first one, and
Alright,
it was
we're
really
gonna-
good.
This one,
But after
Everybody
that,
finish up. Then we're gonna wrap up. We have 5 minutes.
Dude,
Everybody
I feel
good?
like movies are like so. I don't know. I'm so serious. Like movies. I don't know 90% of movies, but if you were like to pick a like Netflix TV show, I could probably relate to you. So, like I don't. Do you guys feel? What do you guys feel like is better, like shows?
We're
or
wrapping up.
movies?
Stop asking questions, Cutsleeve.
movies.
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 Movies. Okay. Beautiful.
Porn.
Beautiful. Oh man. Well,
Agreed.
okay. That's a form of
Shows,
cinema.
when done properly, you can like have a better story, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not trying
All
to
right.
wrap itself up.
Palate cleanse. 5-minute break over. And Danabo comes in.
Oh my gosh, the plug.
Rude. Wow, Danabo didn't even tell you. You can go to CBG, CB, Air something CBT something CBD.com and enter promo, and then click that. Then you get a discount, and Danabo makes money off of that. He didn't tell you that exactly. Okay. Thank you, Danabo. With that, yeah, by the way, don't forget to follow all the people here. Thanks so much for coming. AuGrimace, Sock, Sparky, Joe Lewis, Agent 10, Fanatic, Wick, Cutsleeve. This is a good panel. I'm be honest, I get like a migraine after every panel I do. I don't even have a headache right now. So that's the biggest compliment I can give this panel.
Channel's
So
not over yet.
it's not
Buckle
over
up.
yet. We're only
It's about to
halfway.
get heavy, I promise.
We're getting to the good one. All right. So yeah, and let's get straight into it. Question or topic number 3. Are educational institutions sacrificing science for wokeness? Let's start with Fanatic.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a broad question, but in general, I don't think that you'd have to show me some evidence of them sacrificing science for wokeness. And the article provided, they were talking about like one of the people like having an idea like or for diversity and inclusion and having some of the ensuring that there was some sort of racial inclusion and making sure that like some of the guest speakers are like black, right, or people of color, as opposed to just having only white guest speakers. I don't think that that's sacrificing anything. And in order to imply that that's some sort of sacrifice would be to imply that people of color are some sort of like inferior, right? And that's just, I don't think that that's true. Secondly, I think the idea of diversity and inclusion in our learning institutions is really, really beneficial. We have like data that clearly demonstrates that in a diverse learning environment, the outcomes are better. So for all people, right? So the idea like that, like they're sacrificing like whatever for wokeness sounds stupid. I think being more inclusive is always going to sound like a sacrifice to the people in power because like they're literally losing something. They're losing their place of comfort. But like, yeah, you need to show me something concrete. We recognize some of the benefits of CRT when we recognize like things like 18% of high school seniors can't identify slavery as the root cause of the Civil War. We know that there's something problematic within our freaking education system. The idea that we would start including some of this information so people have a more well-rounded understanding of the world and the country that they live in and some of the institutions that formed and shaped it, I think it's probably something beneficial. And everyone else is just literally like drinking the Kool-Aid because there's literally no other problem.
Thank you. We'll go to Sparky.
Okay, for a conservative, a lot of people are going to say, "Whoa, this is not a normal take." I think that they're not sacrificing science. I think they are trying to incorporate social sciences into the hard sciences. They're not trying to get rid of the hard sciences. In fact, they try to the hard science community, your engineering and stuff, they actually try to stick with that, but they are starting to bring some of the social science ideas, such as CRT, into it. Okay, that's fine. Look, we can all recognize that certain individuals are not promoted to go into areas like STEM. Okay, I think that's a bad thing. Look, anyone can do math. Anyone can actually follow science technologies and stuff like that, and people can excel at it when trained properly. Um, I don't think it's taking over. I think there's an emphasis on some of this. When it comes down to it, where the true problem is with the quote unquote wokeness is the indoctrination of younger individuals who are not trained to critically think at the point and how some of these things are actually presented. But when it comes to the collegiate level, I could not care less. Those are grown ass adults, and they are capable of making up their own minds. And that's really where I stand with it.
Thank you. We'll go to Grimace.
Oh yeah, this is a pretty, I guess, loaded question, but we're talking about wokeness, people putting emphasis on that and it harming science in some kind of way. I imagine that we're talking about things like usually the California Board of Education, right? Right now they're trying to pass a mathematical curriculum reform that uses a manual called A Pathway to Equitable Math Instruction, Dismantling Racism in Mathematics Instruction. And things that we can find in this manual are things like teachers addressing students forthrightly when they do something wrong, as that being a form of white supremacy, and that other indicators of white supremacy could be things like getting the right answer, teaching math in a linear fashion, requiring students to show their work, grading them on demonstrated knowledge of the subject matter. The concepts of mathematics being purely objective is unequivocally false. If we're talking about wokeness in that kind of fashion, yeah, it's probably harming STEM fields. What we need to do a better job of is getting kids the foundational education that they need so they can go to these when they're already able to elevate themselves to such a high academic level without having those foundational good schools. We need to get them even better schools so they can be actually prepared when they go into these not really, really good colleges, but these elite level colleges that require linear algebra in like the freshman year where everybody is prepared to do the hardest of the hardest math to go forward. Because if something like affirmative action in this case, like we see in places like in all the Ivy League schools, we see students that are unprepared, that we have lots of studies of them like coming into these institutes and not doing well, dropping out at a higher rate, struggling, which then like impedes their self-confidence and also perpetuates stereotypes when in reality they weren't prepared to go to the school in the first place. They should have been just going to a very, very, very good school and succeeding there. And we can see, and just by having those people there is not only harming them, it's also harming the people who don't get to go to these institutions in the first place, who actually are prepared to take on these extremely difficult coursework. So if we know what's been going down with Harvard and the Asian discrimination case, we know that if it was a blind audition for getting into school where we just looked at numbers and preparation on paper, Harvard would be 60% Asian, they would be 30% white, and they would be 2% black. We don't solve this problem by just making these numbers come closer to representing the population. It's about giving money and investment into our children to have them have a better chance to get into these institutions prepared. So, yeah.
Thank you. Agent 10.
Oh yeah, so this is a very loaded question. It really matters where. If we're talking hard sciences, there's not a lot of areas except like one off the top of my head. I'm from Jersey. There's I have a really close friend in a nursing major at a really big private institution around here, and like she showed me for like one of her slides in like a PowerPoint, her professor was going off about how like being overweight is not a bad thing, like healthy at every size type shit, which is like I disagree with personally, but other than that, I mean, it's very like loaded on how we do it, I feel like education in general on the higher end is getting way easier to do, and we are trimming a lot out of it in these huge Ivy League universities. For example, like you go through a 4-year education in majority of fields, and you have to take multiple English classes and not read 1 ounce of Shakespeare, right? So in general, I feel like higher education is getting watered down a lot. And if there is an opportunity to add wokeness to it, I see people do it. But in the hard sciences themselves, I see a lot less likely in other stuff like the social sciences.
Thank you. Whit?
Okay, yeah, everyone else has said this is a loaded question. It really depends on how you look at it. Recently, the University of California has gotten rid of the SAT and the ACT for admissions into their college. This was against what the educational board at the time recommended, though it wasn't entirely against it. Now, this is an issue. This common conception that the ACT and the SAT are not accurate measure of performance just doesn't bear out entirely in the data. As there was a recent article in the Atlantic by Caitlin Flanagan, and that noted that the SAT was helping out applicants of color in many ways. For example, for students at schools that don't offer enough advanced placement courses to qualify for University of California schools, and most of these people who were attending these schools were people of color. One of the ways that they could get around that and still qualify anyway was through the SAT. So when you eliminate these things, it does kind of seem that because of this performative, oh, let's help everyone thing, we are risking getting rid of actual tools that are measurable that we've seen to work. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect tool, but these things are measurable and have been proven in the past. That said, there must be something. There is a problem out there, and we do need to address it. I think that we do need to give more support, especially downstream, to communities of color to receive more education and to be better prepared to perform at a level that people who are in more privileged schools can. I do not think that changing the standards is a way to do that.
Thank you. I don't know about you guys, but I'm starting to think this is a loaded question. Let's go to Hardwood and Sock.
Yeah. AuGrimace, I actually really liked what you said, because I agree with a lot of what you said, which is awesome. Took a lot of the words, kind of what I was going to say. Where, like if we are, changing the rules to allow more people to get into these institutions, I think we are actually going to sacrifice the quality of education or the quality of the people that are going to come out of those institutions. Like if they aren't prepared for those institutions, if they aren't capable of succeeding there, I don't know why we are forcing them in there. Because if we are, and then their dropout rate becomes really high, there's a possibility that they're going to like basically dumb down the curriculum and make it easier for people to graduate. So then we are having an issue with people coming out of college. I think focusing on high school education or K through 12 education in society is very important. And then as far as like wokeness in college or whatever, I mean, it's becoming more and more prevalent. And I don't know if that's necessarily beneficial to society. I'm very interested to see where this conversation goes, and hopefully we get some good arguments.
Thank you very much. Joe Lewis?
Yeah, I just want to kind of argue in the sake of the article. I think it seems to be based on everybody's language around it. They either didn't read the article or just believe the article is trash, which would be very, very good, because Christopher Salpino has no business talking about wokeness in the field of STEM. This is an individual who has an MA in government at the University of Texas and a Bachelor of Science in physics. And now, if I understand that the people who are dissenting about inclusivity, diversity, and equality training and practices in teacher education then I totally understand that these individuals are going to manifest their way to try to push their agenda, specifically a right-wing agenda, just make it seem like that the left is like this boogeyman, right? Like Chris Rufo went to Georgetown University and he got only a bachelor's degree in something that has nothing to do with social science, but then he feels like he needs to be the arbiter and dissenting opinion of critical race theory. John Lindsay is a PhD mathematician, and then he feels like that with his Tennessee education, with a master's at Technological University of Tennessee and his bachelor's and his PhD, University of Tennessee, that he can call himself the de facto arbiter of critical race theory, which is what he said when he testified in front of the House bill for, I think it was like House Bill something. It just, there's so many stupid things going on with this arc. But there's something that I really hope this conversation doesn't do, because this happens a lot in dissenting opinions to critical race theory, dissenting opinions to diversity training, inclusion, and equity training, is that you hit people with agreeable premises that, generally speaking, everybody will agree with. Like, we should pay attention to the curriculum at schools. And like, okay, great. But then it leads down this road where the turn happens. And the turn happens, like, I'll give you a very clean example. We have to stop lying to our children that the country is inherently racist, no different than us lying about saying that boys can be girls and girls can be boys. They do this premise, sharp turn in every single attempt they do rhetorically, whether it be from Chris Rufo to John Lindsay to even to some people on this panel indirectly. And the rhetoric is working that the right is creating to battle this culture war. And I really hope, in the sake of the conversation, like, we don't fall into those culture war traps that this article did, because this article was trash. There isn't a threat of wokeness in colleges and universities. There isn't a threat of wokeness in public schools. It's just another example of the right creating a new textbook war in 2021, but we'll see what happens.
Thank you. And with that, we'll go into the journal. No, I'm just kidding. Cutsleeve, go.
Okay, so our institution sacrificing science for wokeness. I'm so like, what does it mean to sacrifice science? I think sacrificing science means a deliberate effort to ignore or augment the data to prove your narrative. And in this case, there can be some certain instances, but as a broad generality, I don't think so. I don't think they're intentionally sacrificing science for wokeness, but I do think, and this is going to be a hot take, wokeness dilutes science. So I put another syllogism in the chat. I think science and social science are distinct things. The combination of social science and science dilutes education. Therefore, science and social science should be taught distinctly. This is like common theme throughout all of conservative talking points. The California forcing hiring women of the Board of Education, that's where wokeness dilutes science, okay? Forcing to hire someone dilutes the efficiency of it. The idea of affirmative action, as AuGrimace pointed out, I mean, if Harvard was to be as efficient as they would, affirmative action would be a thing and they wouldn't be being sued by the Asian applicants. Again, CRT is like an idea of this, and like, not like the real CRT, not the 5 components of CRT. We're not talking about Charles Lawrence here. We're talking about the fake woke sculpt CRT. We're talking about Robin DiAngelo. We're talking about the seminar priest. We're talking about the, oh, all white people are racist. Like, this CRT makes it so the premise follows the conclusion that wokeness just dilutes lines, and we should teach these things distinctly. I yield.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'm sure no one wants to kick it off, so I guess.
Yeah, he said
Oh.
a bunch of nonsense. Like, it's like, yeah, man, we're gonna talk about this, and then like just starts mentioning things that have literally nothing to do with CRT, or like pointing out like affirmative action. Affirmative action doesn't dilute science. What does that even mean? These are two totally different things. Two totally different
Okay,
topics.
if affirmative
Like,
action prevents people are more prepared to take on the subject matter from actually entering into these fields, would you say that that's diluting the I guess the scientists of the on the topic?
I guess,
Right.
yeah, if I had a really poor understanding of affirmative action, I'd ask a question that's stupid too. So yeah, the idea is most of the time when you're talking about affirmative action, it's not putting people who aren't qualified into specific positions. It's putting people who are equally qualified but just of a different race into those positions. It's not putting unqualified people. You have no evidence to suggest that.
I
hear
do
this from other-
actually. I have lots of evidence to suggest that.
Let Cutsleeve respond.
Here,
Yeah, I do have
hold on.
evidence. I have
Once
evidence.
Fanatic finishes.
I hear the constant Republican talking point that, oh yeah, like what's happening is people start dropping out whenever they're affirmative action hires and so on and so forth. But like there's no evidence. You don't have any way of actually creating a causal link between them being affirmative action, affirmative action placement, and them dropping out of a school. There is no actual evidence to suggest that. What you do see very often are economic situations leading to these people dropping out, because affirmative action doesn't address the economic situations, and they still have college, and they still have classes to pay for, and the schools are particularly expensive, and so you're starting to see those problems. But you haven't controlled for that when you're going to cite me the data that you're talking about, because most of the time Republicans aren't actually looking for truth; they're just looking for something to support their talking
Stop making
points.
this a political thing. Stop trying to paint your
Okay,
opponents as
let's-
being
Affirmative
Republican or
action is inherently
conservative.
Stop, you silly
No,
gooses.
no.
You silly. All right, Cutsleeve, you respond because you address Cutsleeve.
Right. So, again, when I say wokeness dilutes science, I say what's the principle of a college? It's to get, especially in an inclusive college like Harvard, it's to get the best students in and to have the highest education. And I think when you do things like, as data shown, boost, artificially boost minority score for being a minority into getting to these colleges, it shows a percent chance of them dropping out. Affirmative action applicants have been demonstrably shown by the data to be more likely to drop out than non-affirmative action applicants.
Did you not hear what I said, Cutsleeve? You're not addressing
No,
me
no.
at all. I feel like I already addressed this, and you're just not addressing it. Did you
No,
not
no,
pay attention?
Oh wait, no.
There's more if you put it into.
I mentioned the economic portion. Are you addressing that at all? Or are you just going to repeat the same talking point that someone else already said while not addressing anything that I just talked about?
Again,
The thing that you're talking about.
Fanatic, if you would, sir, I can try to address.
Go ahead and finish. I'm just not going to address it because I already said something that said that makes what you're saying stupid.
Cutsleeve, let me help you. I can help you here, friend. Like, something that no, because
finish.
Fanatic might be right. I might be mischaracterizing the point. So what I want to do is I want to try to say what I heard Fanatic say, and you can like rephrase that point.
I'm not going to. You're not going to address it. Go ahead. Just go ahead.
Just say your point. Just say your point, friend.
Okay. Again, if it's true that affirmative action has had negative like statistics on people who get in based on affirmative action, we would see the things that we see now. 1, a decrease in applicants who drop out from affirmative action. 2, an artificial increase in their SAT scores if they're affirmative action. So if you're a minority, you get a boost in SAT scores. If you're a majority, then you get a decrease in SAT scores. This is not artificially choosing people based on race with the same qualifications. That's not what affirmative action is. That's wrong.
Okay, so Cutsleeve, there's a few problems here, right? And this is, again, I don't think you're doing this on purpose, because if I understand that these faux intellectuals who think that they're dissenting CRT and affirmative action have no idea what they're talking about, of course Reddit will sound like this. So I'm going to help you with something, and I have to understand, like, in order to approach this properly, just answer this question: did you read the article that Danimo sent you? What?
Nope.
No. Okay. So something that the individual in the article that Danabo sent talked about is this idea, and I'm going to read it verbatim for you so you understand the problem here. He said, quote, "There's a cultural shift underway affecting all aspects in American life. Though hard to define, it unusually takes the form of an emphasis of what is known as diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI, critical race theory, wokeness, anti-racism, and the like." What he proceeds to do is never to succinctly define any of those terms that he believes are the cultural shift. So I will ask you this. Please define, I'm just going to tell you to do this. Define wokeness.
Define wokeness?
Yes.
I think that's a, can you give me a couple seconds? Because that's a broad term. Let me think about it.
While you're thinking about
So
it,
you said,
Can
to be clear, Sleeves, you said that wokeness deludes science. So if you have to think to properly define wokeness, that is why Fanatic is frustrated in your argument. Because if you can't clearly define the word that you use, then why are you even using the word and trying to paint it out as a problem? Do you see what I'm trying to say here?
No, I see what you're trying to say, but there's a difference between having idea. I have an idea of the head what wokeness means.
And you never defined it in your statement, so I'm asking you to please define wokeness. And you said you need some time, so take that time.
Well, yeah.
Wow.
I know what wokeness is in my head. I just don't know how to articulate it because it's such a broad concept. That doesn't mean I have no clue what wokeness is. That's dumb.
Okay,
I mean,
wait.
what
While
if
he's thinking,
you
let's go. Let's go to Grimace and the Wick because they've
Thank
been
you.
waiting so
So
patiently.
I wanted to respond on Mr. Fanatic's point and when he was getting on to Cutsleeve about, because Mr. Fanatic's point is that the reason that these students drop out, or the reason that they're equal and they are students who are prepared to go into these institutions, and the reason that they drop out at a higher rate is because they have material conditions that don't allow them to stay in school. Right? That's your point, Mr. Fanatic?
I'm saying that they have other economic
Okay.
issues and cultural issues that cause them to drop out significantly higher that aren't directly related to their
Sure.
capacity for the education.
Sure. This completely ignores the fact that we actually, if we go to the institutions, look at their requirements for people to get in, that if we don't take race into account, 60% of the students are going to be Asian. Like we know that people are getting these positions who aren't necessarily the most prepared. So we should expect them to drop out at a higher rate because they're not prepared in the same kind of way that like a rich Asian kid with
Man, I don't know
with
how
a
your
stable.
brain does. You're still ignoring the point that I'm bringing up. Like,
wait, what's the
Can I
point?
try?
so,
Can I
I'm
give
sorry,
an
it's
example?
really
your
simple.
point only
really,
your point
really
only
clearly.
works
Okay,
if all of the students have the same the same amount of academic achievement.
Okay.
So yeah,
No,
it's gonna-
no,
yeah,
we can look
Grimace.
at
Yeah,
other points.
logically, it's okay.
Hey, it's
All right,
obviously
All right,
not.
well,
Let me give it a go. Let me give it a go.
Let
me give it a
Wick
go.
go. Let Wick go.
Okay,
You got it.
I'll leave it at that.
There are other indicators rather than the dropout rate that we can look at to see, okay, are people being admitted due to a racial preference? Are they performing at the same rate as those who were not? And we have cases where this has happened in California in '98. They banned racial preferences to allow entrances to school. The year before that, in the University of California in San Diego, only one black student out of 3,268 who was a freshman made honors. A few years after they lifted the ban on racial preferences, it was up to 1 in 5 black students. The black students who were allowed without racial preferences to be admitted into these colleges performed better. They performed better. It's not just about dropout rates here. It's not just about economics, which you're exactly right. Economic conditions is a factor here that causes people to drop out. But when we look at not only dropout rates but actual academic
I see,
performances,
Sparky.
we can see that racial preferences in allowing people to school and things like that. Well, first of all, is never the white people who suffer from this. The white people rate the same. It's going to be the Asians who pay the cost when we try to move these numbers around. They're going to have the same number of white people. It's just the Asian population in these schools is going to go down, and we've seen
Wick,
that as well.
you did it. You did it. Okay, so we have to understand that in certain areas of society, the expected, I should say, racial dichotomy and breakup don't work out. The example of that being is within education. But the problem here is that it still doesn't address the issue that I think Fanatic is bringing up here, is that we have to make sure that if we're going to have a program that is supposed to cultivate better outcomes for a racially identifiable demographic of students who are underperforming, we have to make sure that there's actually the dedicated effort that exists there. No one is trying to say that, like, and this is the rhetorical trap, because it's moving away from the problem. If we understand that Asian American students under COVID-19 are enrolling in the college at higher rates than any other racial demographic, then obviously, like, there's going to be some type of disparity there. And this is one of those problems, right? So how do we increase the enrollment for Black, white, and Hispanic students? And then, like, and that's like part of the problem. Like, when we're talking about equity, equality, diversity, and
respond to that?
inclusion.
Well, we'll
Sure.
go. Look, there's a big
Yeah,
line. So
yeah,
there's
sure. I
this-
guess to really make the point clear is that you have to, like, when we're looking at these disparities in education, we can't just equally apply certain problems from one racialized group to another. We have to make a dedicated effort in understanding the issues that racially identifiable group are experiencing, and then using that information and that research to create plans so that those students get the same, can at least try to have the same type of outcomes. And I think this is the door that Fanatic is knocking at here. The problem is Asian Americans are excelling so much that white Americans are using them as a cudgel to prevent any of these things from happening at all.
Okay, but that's not what I'm doing here. I'm not.
Okay, we're gonna go.
anything.
What,
Like
there's been a lot.
Asian
Wait.
people- You can't
Sorry,
like say the
Grimace.
white people are using Asian people. When Asian people are people
Dude,
doing
we-
the actual lawsuit.
I'm not saying white people are doing it, Grimace. I'm saying people who are in dissent of these programs use Asian Americans as their justification that there is no problem at all. You can
No
see
one
this
is
in
saying
Christopher
there's no
Rufo's
problem at all.
rhetoric.
Here.
You can see this in John Lindsay's rhetoric. You can see this in Andrew Zhu's rhetoric, who literally wrote a book called The Inconvenient Minority.
Okay, we're
Right,
doing.
but Wick, the problem is that you're still doing the. I'm telling you, you're doing the rhetorical things that they're doing to justify and try to gaslight into the other way. I know you're not doing that intentionally. I'm just telling
I'm
you.
not
that
doing
it's
anything at
happening.
all, Joe. You're
I'm
making
talking
something
to. I'm
up
talking
actually,
to Wick.
to divert
I'm
yourself
talking
from
to Wick,
talking about the
Grimace.
actual
I'm
topic. That
talking to
Joe
Wick,
what
Grimace.
I do.
people want to do instead of actually engaging with what we're talking about.
No, but he's okay. Jesus.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we have to go down the line. All right, Sock, Sparky, Cutsleeve. Try to be as brief as possible if you can.
All right. Yeah. No, FNATIQ, I wanted to address like the economic statement that you were making. Like in these affirmative action like programs, right? Isn't there extra economic
accommodations? No,
yeah,
not necessarily.
for them.
No, not necessarily. Sometimes the affirmative action portion can only be in the subject of hiring. Now you can
Okay.
have affirmative action specifically when it comes to scholarships, and some scholarships will give like affirmative action specifically for that. But you can't that's not directly tied to admission necessarily.
Okay.
So no, I guess that's
But
not. You know.
I guess don't they have more opportunities to obtain grants and
No.
you know, certain loans and stuff? No.
Not even
No.
close.
Okay.
The answer is no.
No. Okay. No, that's fine. That was just an honest question. That's all.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a
Sparky?
crazy question, but I love you. It's fine.
All right,
All
Sparky.
right.
We should-
Go ahead.
I'll give you some information as well. I'll send that your way.
All right.
Sparky.
Cool. Thanks.
When it comes to the idea of like affirmative action, look, that's actually only for hiring practices. There's other things that have helped to try to bring more equitable admittance to different colleges, and I think that's actually ridiculous because it should be based on the merit of the person. I don't care who it affects. If you can't reach the muster, you shouldn't be there. If you can't actually pay the bill, I know this is going to be a little spicy, but hey, you shouldn't get the product. It is what it is. Look, when you want to go to one of the most prestigious colleges in the nation and you can't afford it, you need to find a way to pay for that damn service or don't go. It is what it is. Equity is a pipe dream. You have equality. You have the equality of opportunity. You will never have equity of outcome. It just does not exist in life because
I know it feels good to say that, but no one.
Sparky,
one
do
here
you
is arguing
support
for equity.
Sparky?
No
Do
one's
you
arguing for equity.
support full scholarships for students based on their academic rigor?
yes,
So if a student has the academic rigor to make it into that university, but might not have the financial needs to do so, do you think they should be financially supported?
no, not necessarily. I believe
They
that
can take out
if they
student
are
So
awarded,
let me make it
Because
even
that
more
thing
no,
could
no,
be
complicated.
I'm not going to let you.
Like,
hold on.
No,
There's
because
something else I
do you
need to
think that a
address.
student with a strong academic rigor should receive a full scholarship if their parents or they can fund it themselves without any financial assistance?
I don't think that economic status should affect anyone's potential to become a scholarship winner. It is what it is. You compete for those. If you can't compete, you don't get it. It is what it is. It's just like on the football field. If you can't compete, you don't get the scholarship. By the way, they only get a 1-year scholarship. I think that is actually criminal because some of these individuals get
there are
harmed.
athletes that are getting full rides to universities. There are athletes that are getting full rides to universities that have the financial needs to pay for it themselves. And there's many of athletes
Baker
that do
Mayfield was
that.
one of them.
And there's
Yeah.
also many athletes who have the professional rigor to even compete as early as 18 in the NBA, but don't have the financial stability to go to a university when they actually want to have a college education first. But then in reality, they have to go to these secondary AAA schools, despite the fact that they have the ability to compete and play with the best players in the states and the country, but they don't have the financial needs to do so. But we still have time and time again students that have the academic rigor, the athletic rigor in your case, but also have the financial rigor to not need the support at all. So I'm trying to figure out where you're at on that.
Scholarships are not about need. scholarships are about.
Oh
winning.
no! Do not say that stupid
No,
ass statement.
when you were
Scholarships
talking-
need is a
Easy.
factor in scholarship. You can't say that. You can't say
Easy.
that stupid ass statement.
Please, you don't know. What
No, I can. Just like you can say something like Christopher said a Flippo or however you say his name.
Christopher
should be
Rufo
the
is leading the
last person to
charge of
talk about
critical.
this because he has a degree in this. When you have a degree in music and you want to talk about everything under the sun like you're an expert, come on, man.
I'm
Show
not
a little
declaring.
bit.
I am not declaring like Dr. John Lindsay, a mathematician, that he is the leading scholar on critical race theory, and then testifying about a bill about that. That's a clip that exists on the internet. I'll give it to you if you want.
Awesome.
I'd love
I
to
would
see you
love
try
to
to
see it.
defend it. But I mean,
But
if you're gonna say
I think
dumbass
anyone
shit,
can have,
no
I think
problem.
anyone can
wait,
have an
Sparky,
opinion
hold
on something.
Sparky,
I
admit you
just
took the L,
don't
though,
think
right?
that
Like, you know
someone.
these things are not equivalent, right? Like for sure. Like you get that, right? You understand it,
Pardon?
like
I
you
didn't hear
understand,
you fully. I'm sorry.
I was saying you understand the difference, right? Like you recognize that's an L. Like for someone to have an opinion about a subject is one thing, but for someone to declare themselves the arbiter about something would probably require a little bit, a lot more like accolades in order to be able to do so. You get the difference there.
Well,
right?
I mean, I've sat and listened to a person on this panel talk about how they are pretty much an expert on stuff when their primary
Where have I ever
focus of
said
study.
that I was an expert?
Yeah, you're
Sparky,
just
where did I
making
ever
up
This is all
articulate
you
that?
talk about.
Okay,
guys.
okay,
This is all
let's-
you talk
let's-
about.
No, you dumb motherfucker.
If you
I'm
would
not
talk
gonna let
about
you get
a
off the hook
degree,
of that,
I
you
would see a lot
dumbass
more,
piece
man.
of shit fuck. I never
Oh,
laid
man,
out
see.
anywhere. I never
Alright,
laid out that I was an expert in this field, and I would implore you to go back to the VOD and find that. Stop saying shit you can't quantify,
Yeah,
you
no, it's
dumb
okay, you took the
motherfucker.
L.
Okay,
Holy
to be
shit.
fair to Sparky, you're the one who brought up Lindsay or whatever his name is.
I brought them
into-
up.
into
I brought
this
them up.
conversation.
himself
I
an
brought
expert.
them up.
As
I
an
brought
argument
yourself,
against it.
Jeff.
which
I brought
has nothing
them
to do
up
with what
for.
we're talking about.
No, it absolutely does.
Wait,
if we
his statements
understand,
on whether he's the
if
person.
we let's go back to the very beginning, right? If we understand that the intellectual right made a war against intellectualism in colleges, specifically around critical race theory, and the fact that we can pin it to a point in history is something that we ought to recognize. And that's Christopher Rufo and John Lindsay. And you can disagree with that if you want, but the evidence is incredibly clear that they made a war to critical race theory. Donald Trump bought it, and then this rhetoric perpetuated itself all
Okay.
over the
Joe,
entire
I
what
state.
does that
agree
have
with
to do
that.
with the topic that we're talking about?
All right,
Because
well,
the article is literally about that, Grimace.
Let's-
Did you read it?
let's swing around.
Wait,
Let's
wait,
swing
I
around.
did read
Wait,
the article. The
We're gonna
topic is dealing with
everybody,
wokeness
everybody,
in academics.
everybody. Breathe deep breaths. Okay, we're gonna swing around to Cutsleeve because I think he's been waiting a while.
It's
Okay,
crazy how their
well,
brain works.
So to rewind time, my definition of wokeness would just be like postmodern dialogue that perpetuates ivory tower politics and awareness of other social issues. I know that this is probably an incomplete definition of wokeness.
Can you repeat
but
that one more time for me, please?
postmodern dialogue, which just means like infinite interpretation for any set action, that perpetrates ivory tower politics, which means like politics that like assume higher moral ground, that perpetuates awareness of other social issues, such as like potato head, LGBT. I mean, if you have another definition of wokeness, I think the term is so vague and like I that's my best guess. That would be my best guess. Now to
If it's so
Joe's
vague and meaningless, you shouldn't have used it.
Hold
then.
on. Well, I only did it to answer the question, and I gave it my best shot. I honestly
He
did.
said your
But,
definition.
To Joe's, that is my definition. To Joe's point, how do we increase employment for minorities, right? Because he said that a while ago.
I didn't say anything about employment.
The economic status. I thought I quoted you. Okay, maybe.
You
But like,
don't quote me, motherfucker. Come on now.
okay, but like essentially the point is, right? Affirmative action is an attempt to increase the economic status of minorities, right? But I don't think affirmative action is the way to do this. I think the way to do this is one, prison reform. Men are 2 times as likely to get a higher prison sentence for the same crime than women do. 6 times higher to get the same prison sentence as a woman does, and Black people are 2 times higher to get the same prison sentence as a white person does. So for Black men, you're just basically fucked. Like that's it. And then again, socially encouraged a 2-parent household. 66% of Black people have a single parent household, which is a lead indicator of crime, poverty, and any other bad things. I don't think affirmative action is the way to do it, and statistically, it hasn't been the way to do it. If someone's poor but has the same like academic success, I would personally support those scholarships, boosting them, right, to a point where they can mitigate that poverty aspect. But that's not what affirmative action does. They artificially augment SAT scores to make it so people who don't deserve to be in does be in. And like
that's not the only thing that it does.
Okay, thank you very
Everything
much.
you're saying is
Wait,
wrong.
let's go to Agent 10. Agent 10's been waiting a long time, please. Just
Yeah, so
Yeah.
hitting back earlier what Sparky said about need, scholarships are 100%
and then
like
you would.
given on need. I'm pretty sure I'm the only, I may be wrong here, but I'm the only one who's college age and currently is in college and just did a fuck ton of scholarship write-ups. It's 100% based off need. What do you mean? Like,
There
given
are such
everything
things
else.
as non-need based. No, there are need-based scholarships. There's also some that are based
They're the
specifically
minority.
on sex. There's others that are based on different minority.
Which are-
And those are
which
the
are
minority.
things
You
that
can't sit here and like,
people-
oh, they're not based off need
You guys are both
whatsoever.
right.
But
Like,
there
dude,
are
what the
some that
hell?
are not need-based at all.
Spark-
That's
Academic
not what you
scholarships
said
do
at
not
all.
have to include
That is
financial
not what
need.
you said at all.
Sparky, yes, there are scholarships and yes, there are grants. And grants can be given from institutions and groups of people based on certain identifiable characteristics, right? Like I received a grant for being an adoptee and it was like a $1,000 grant. That's like whatever. It's like pissing water in an ocean against my $50,000 worth of school that I had to pay for. But there's also scholarships that are based on identifiable characteristics that people with those identifiable characteristics can apply to. Like,
But not
are you
all.
against those things? Are you against
No, not at all. I
scholarships
don't-
for?
No.
Okay, cool.
Look,
Then what's
Like
what
the
you-
Amelia Earhart,
there's
the
the
Amelia
need,
Earhart
man.
scholarship
Yeah.
is one of the biggest ones that I'm a proponent of, getting females into aviation.
I see your
And
green.
it's only offered to females, but it's not
Women.
based on an economic
Because
need.
females are the ones in need of that, correct? And how are you going to
Well,
sit
there
here and
isn't
say
many
that
females in
scholarship shouldn't be based
aviation.
off of need, dude?
It's not
Okay,
necessarily a need though.
All right, let's,
But needs
Wick,
but needs a factor in the process.
let's go to Wick and then Grimace. And then, if you guys can like not raise your, it's really hard to get to everybody. But yeah, just to let you know, Wick.
Okay, so I really want to get rid of this this dumbass kind of scholarship discussion. Obviously, scholarships are based on need. We can move on. So, when we come down to it, not all scholarships, obviously. When we come down to it, yes, Joe, I recognize that the right has used some talking points that I have used, but just because I have sometimes used the facts that they have used does not mean I support what they support. I am not trying to say what they are trying to say. I'm not against CRT. I am not against inclusivity. I'm not against diversity. I want those things. My issue comes is I do not think racial preferences for admissions to schools is the best way to increase diversity. I don't think it's the best, most efficacious way to increase these things. Where I would like to see the focus be put on is helping communities of color meet the standards that are set so that they can compete on an even playing field as best as possible. Now, I think we can do that in several ways. I think that
No, don't go into all those ways. That's fine. Like you just make the general
So-
that's fine. Jesus Christ,
So
don't go into
wait, so
monologue.
Wick, real quick. So the issue here is
You'll go
that
after,
we
Grimace.
can do both at the same time, right? We can understand that some universities overtly, whether intentionally or not, deliberately ignored specific racially identifiable demographics. We have entire fields that completely ignored women. We have entire fields that completely ignored men. But when we get to a point where we want to include these people into our spaces, there has to be a dedicated effort in making sure that these spaces are welcome for those groups of people. And we talked about this before through active recruitment and active recruitment awareness around these demographics, these identifiable
Sure, but
while
that's
at the same time acknowledging that these individuals are going to have some types of needs that have nothing to do that are just like ordinary college students. So we
okay.
have to
I have
do
nothing
both.
against any of that.
Right,
But
right,
where my
right.
specific contention lies is racial preferences for admissions. That's my specific contention.
Okay, Grimace.
Yeah, sorry. So just so everybody understands where I'm coming from, my prescriptive argument here is that we need to do something about education in minority communities. That is, give more money to them, give them better schools, give them better teachers, pay teachers a lot more fucking money than they have right now. But what I'm against is trying to solve the problem after the foundational component of it is already broken, right? If just going forward, Joe Lewis, can I just ask you a few questions, just straight up, just like yes,
Hit
no,
me.
or you can do like a little caveat.
Quickly, and yes or no
Okay.
if possible.
You can just do it, no?
So when we're talking about wokeness, do you think it's a good thing to implement all those things in that manual. I was talking about like teaching white supremacy as far as it goes to grading students' ability to solve different math problems. Is that a problem?
Most of the time, those things aren't even in that manual. You're making that
I
up.
can't comment about a manual I have not read.
Okay, so if we pass curriculum guidelines, right, that point to teachers not being forthright with students who are not getting things correct, who are not doing their work and showing their work and things of that nature, would that be bad?
Yes, that's the agreeable premise.
Okay, these are just simple questions for you. So if we look at college admissions and we see there being calls to reform math classes at Harvard because they have really bad pass rates, and of those who don't pass are disproportionately minority. Is that a bad or a good thing?
The specific math class in question you're talking about is Math 55,
Yes.
which is one of the most difficult classes to take in
Yes.
Harvard University. They also
Yes.
found that in Math 55, it pretty much excludes women, whether it be overtly or covertly. So yes, I think that, and again, this might not even answer your question directly because we're giving context here, is that I think the university ought to make an effort to make sure not only people who take that class pass, but also more than just men take that class and succeed.
Sure. So I will agree. Well, these are the foundational problems I'm talking about, people getting to that level and taking those classes in the first place. But that has nothing to do with the class itself, right? We shouldn't be making classes easier. That
They made an analysis. Did you read the analysis and the just as to why Math 55 was difficult, the racial disparities that exist in there, and the disparities along gender lines? Did you read that analysis that Harvard University did around that course?
I did, but I would like to hear your
You're lying. You're lying. So like we have to understand.
This is a really good. This is the thing you always do. I read it.
No, Grimace. Let's
no,
focus on the argument, man.
Tell me the analysis that somehow changes anything about what we're talking about.
The issue here, what they found is that the academic support for the non-white students and non-Asian students for Math 55 was insufficient. They also found that through advertisement and otherwise that these courses weren't. Were not. Yeah, this again, like I'd love to talk to you about this longer in like a yelly, debatey capacity because we probably would agree on these things. Because like I'd rather not perform on you. I'll perform on Cutsleeve and Sparky all day, but I'd rather not perform on you on this because we've had conversations like similar to this and led to like pretty good conversation. So
speaking of Cutsleeve,
that's where I'm at on that.
So just end that really quick.
Wrap it up.
This is a much longer exchange.
Just because students have reasons as to why they're not passing these tests doesn't mean we should make the classes easier. That just means we need to improve the material conditions of these students who will have these outlets to do well in these classes.
Which is what Harvard thought as well.
Okay, good. Cutsleeves.
Okay, so because I am an infant, literal toddler in the 3rd grade, I have no idea what Math 55 is. Okay. So my question to you is, if there was a particular course that was homogenous or like just dominated by male-only spaces, and promoting like the inclusion of women, the minority in this case, decrease the efficiency in which people pass, do we still have an obligation to promote women to alleviate this disparity? Yes or no?
That is literally the rhetoric in the article. Holy shit.
Again,
like,
I just
I'll read it to you. This is like, again, this is my concern.
Wait. I didn't read the article for a reason.
Yeah, but the article gave that, and I'll just read you what they said, right? It was around women specifically. And the argument that this individual made is that he doesn't care that women have bad outcomes. Like the word is like, is it lamentable that some years Math 55 has no women? Perhaps, but that is the preferable to encouraging students to take it who may not succeed or lowering the standards for all. So he's literally saying like he doesn't care about the outcomes for women if it means lowering it for all people. But that's like really loaded because that's suggesting that women are like less than and we need to lower their standards.
I know.
No, but again, he makes that conclusion in his article. Like I don't know.
Again, I'm not in a panel with John McWhorter or whoever wrote this article. Okay, I'm in a panel with you guys. So I'm saying, if it was the case that like the inclusion of a minority, it doesn't have to be women. but the inclusion of the minority decreases the efficiency of which people pass. Do we still have an obligation to allow that to try to make more minorities join into that said class?
We should help students succeed in the courses. We're not, no one's, no, I'd have to see where like this argument comes from, but there's no school district, there's no university that's trying to make the argument, at least as far as I can see, that because these students are performing so poorly that we ought to bring the standards down so that they can succeed. They acknowledge that, like, okay, what are the problems that currently exist that make the course hard in the first place, and then what resources can we do to make sure that students succeed regardless of their gender and racial I'll just say their identifiers, so like everyone can succeed. It's not just the course that's the problem, it's everything that's leading up to the course.
I mean, you must be really good with your legs because you danced around the question. The question is,
I mean, you can say dumb shit like you think you know what you're talking about, but Cutsleeves, I'm gonna call you out on it, friend.
This is a question. I'm not making a statement, okay? If the inclusion of said minority would decrease the efficiency in which people pass, do we still have a moral obligation to promote that minority into the class?
Why do you feel the efficiency would decrease?
I'm saying in the hypothetical.
I'm not going to participate in a hypothetical when this is a reality for students.
That's cool. I mean, look.
I'm saying you can take your hypothetical and shove it.
Okay,
So let's participate in reality.
I mean,
In a video
if you want
game.
a hypothetical shield till the lights go out, which is a pretty realistic scenario coming from the experience myself.
So now we're realistic.
hypothetical
Didn't
anymore.
you just say you were a fetus?
I knew it.
If you want a hypothetical shield all the time and you won't answer,
We should focus on realistic.
It's cool. I'm gonna ask for now, right?
Okay, have fun with that.
Bro, I have the same exact answer as Joe did. What you're doing right now is you're trying to pretend it's a hypothetical, but it's not a hypothetical, and that's what Joe called you out on. The talking points that you're giving are literally the same as the article, and he's saying I don't want to engage in a hypothetical, and you're like, well, no, but it's not really hypothetical. It's actually real. This is my real life experience, so it's not a hypothetical anymore. So now what Joe is basically saying to you is that embedded in your questioning is the implication that some kind of way women are inferior, such that we have to lower the education standard because their inferiority is the reason why they're failing, and that's what he's not wanting to engage with.
I didn't say women specifically. It could be a minority.
Or whatever.
It doesn't matter. Women, minority.
You're just implying that they are inferior, and that's why they're not succeeding.
Inferior,
and that's not
as to oppose to the course that they're taking. Of course, if we say like poor people as a minority, they might not have the resources.
Man, you're really missing it, bro.
Well, wait, they might not have the resources to do as good at a certain course as rich people do. This is just a simple concept. I don't know why I can't get a simple answer. I'm not saying that poor people are
Squad
inferior.
W.
I'm not saying poor people are inferior. I'm saying that they don't have the resources as rich people do. So this is a yes or no question.
Why don't they have the resources?
Because they're poor. Right. So
because they're poor, they're leading into bad incomes of this course.
If
I'm working with your hypothetical, buddy. If you want to play, we'll play basketball.
You ask question. You ask why don't they have the resources? Because they're poor.
Sure.
You don't have the access to the money to get the tutors that you need for the resources. So this is a simple concept. So it's a yes or no question.
Sure. So I think we should probably give them the resources in your hypothetical so that they could succeed in the class. So it's not just because they're poor that they're not succeeding.
Gotcha. But if the resources decrease the efficiency in which people would pass the course, do we still have that moral obligation? Yes or no?
Why would other people be having a hard time if we're targeting one specifically identifiable demographic resourcefully?
Because we have a limited amount of tutors, we have a limited amount of resources, right?
How would those other groups be seeing negative outcomes if we're only targeting this specific group?
You will not interrupt me. If we give those resources, we have a finite amount of resources. If we give those resources to the needy, we're not giving the resources to the people who are on par, right? We have a limited amount of resources. So yes.
We're talking the highest level of education with millions of dollars. They could definitely hire some fucking tutors.
Yeah, wait, there's the loaded. I found the loaded part of your steer. Okay, so let's humor this, right? Are you saying that the resources that this identifiable group are receiving is so significant that it would take funds from those other groups in this scenario?
That could be the case.
I mean, that's. I mean, what other way could another group be? Other groups outside of the group that you're targeting be suffering?
Maybe because they're poor, their parents have made bad decisions, which makes it so that so one, the limited resources argument that I said earlier, and two, they don't know how to get the resources. Some people don't know how to contact a tutor. Some people don't know how to do the research on their own. Only rich people do that because one, they have access to the bigger laptops, one, they have access to better internet that gives them access to better resources. Okay, these things don't go on trees. Okay, so we have a limited number of these things that aren't access to the poor. So again, my question is yes or no. Stop dancing around.
Your vocal variety is changing because you understand somewhere in your argument that you are drowning. How is it if we are giving resources to one identifiable group that the other identifiable groups would suffer? Please articulate that. You acknowledge costs. You acknowledge cost. So you acknowledge cost. So I'm saying, great. Let's make sure those people who are in that identifiable group that are doing poorly because they are poor have the resources to succeed in this class, this hypothetical that you created, that they can succeed in this class. Now you are saying that because we are giving these resources to this identifiable group, other members of other identifiable groups are now not succeeding. I'm asking you, why are those other groups not succeeding financially when we're targeting this one group financially? Are you saying that the disparity is that wide that we'd have to filter resources that great? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, get the eggshells out of your ears. You're making my two arguments into one. You're saying, oh, Cutsleeve is saying giving resources.
It's your hypothetical. It's if you say a dumb hypothetical, it doesn't. Don't get mad at me when we go down these stupid roads.
You won't interrupt me. Okay, I have two arguments.
One, that's the only time I want you, fuck.
Let's wrap up the back. Let's try to wrap this up too.
Okay, again, the eggshells, my feelings. Okay, one is the giving resource articles. Two is the resources aren't enough. Even if we give these people the resources, one, they might not know how to seek these resources. Two, they might not know how to process these resources. Just giving poor people tutors, just giving poor people MacBooks, these things don't make them process the information as well as rich people do. Because one, they might not have the parents, one, they might have the resources, and two, they might not have to process the information. So no, it's not just giving resources, it's the processing of these resources. Thank you.
Yes, of course. All of those things encompass resources.
So right? So zero.
No. Okay, so we gotta set a precedent. Either we cut each other off all the time, or when I try to say something, then we let it rip. Like, I don't know which world we're gonna function. So I'm gonna function.
Harvard 55 or Cutsleeve University?
I don't know. So the thing is that, again, you're gonna go to college soon, so you're gonna understand this, right? So if you're failing a course, it is up to the university to make sure that you do not fail. That's what a perfect world looks like, where if you're failing a course, they don't want you to be taking the same course over and over and over. So some groups of students are going to have trouble in the courses that you take at a university. And Agent can attest to this too. Something that happens through this thing called advisement is they say, hey, you are struggling in these courses. What's going on there? That's why every student has an academic advisor. Then it's the academic advisor's job to give those students the right resources and things that they need in order so that they succeed in courses. However, something that Agent 10 can attest to, something that I can attest to, is that sometimes academic advisors don't do a good job at that next step in making sure that those resources are following through with the outcomes. So just because you recommend a student certain tutors for a class, that doesn't mean that that student is going to go there. So sometimes you have to be a bit more hands-on with the student to make sure that they know these things exist, how to access these resources, and how these resources work in practice. Because to your point, Cutsleeves, that some students never had these systems in the first place. They don't know what a tutor is. They don't know how to use a library. They don't know how to use the online database and finding research and papers. These are all things that you're supposed to be educated on when you go to college and reinforce through your academic career. What's happening in a vast majority of universities in the United States is that additional process, intervention measures, prevention measures aren't being equally applied across all students. So sometimes you'll have students that fall into the cracks. My argument in your hypothetical is that we need to make sure that these failing students are no longer failing. But somewhere in there, you keep saying that the other groups outside of this group will start suffering. And I just wanted you to articulate that. You weren't able to. So we're going to move on from that, but maybe we could talk about it more later.
We've got to move on to it. I got to give it to Sock. He's been waiting a while.
All right, cool. I guess like my question, like to I guess the panel would be like, should we change the curriculum to make it easier for more people to pass in all these colleges? Like, anyone say yes?
Matters case
No.
by case. I need to
a
give
broad
I need to be
question. What do
given
you
an
mean?
example. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, all right.
Case by
So,
case, no, you should never lower the standards. When you do that, you get
Well, what do we mean by lower the
quality
standard? Or
products.
wait, why is it got to
Okay,
be lower
so
standards?
if-
Why can't it be
all
an
right.
equal alternative?
If 10% of students in a course are failing, do you think that the course should be made easier?
No.
Sorry,
No.
You should
okay.
probably look at
20%.
how
No.
that course is
Cool, great.
course is
yeah,
being
look at
Yeah,
taught
great.
and adjust there, but lowering the standards now.
Right, we look at how these students are failing and not succeeding, and then we figure out, okay, is it the curriculum? Is it something with the teacher? Is it something with the textbooks used? Is it something that the tests that are being applied? Like, as an example, if you have an attendance policy that's worth 50% of your grade, and if you miss the final, you fail the course, that can lead to poor outcomes regardless of how well you do in the class. And that is a policy that exists in different like college level courses. That was literally
no,
like
100%.
that was literally two of my classes like my senior year. Like,
Well, that's why I failed out of college, because I never wanted to go, but I did well on the test. So like I understand like the whole attendance policy bullshit, right?
That's race neutral though in this case.
Also,
we're
it doesn't
talking
have
about
to be
wokeness. We're
lowering
talking about
standards.
reform
Yeah.
because it's disproportionately affecting minorities.
Well, and that, but
an attendance policy can disproportionately affect minorities, though, Grimace. Like, come on now.
Wait, Agent, you said like this, right? So say we give like people the resources, right? And they take the resources, and the minority gaps are still not changing, right? Like
I would say then you would assess the curriculum and see what's going on, and like what can be maybe improved. I wouldn't say lower the standards.
yeah.
Well, if like multiple people are like having trouble with tests, well, what could be an equal substitute for tests?
So when
Papers?
I attended the
Maybe.
Defense Language Institute in the military, I attended the Defense Language Institute. There was always languages that had a lower pass rate than others. Urdu was famously, when I was there, they did the meme, "Thou shalt not pass," and things like that. There was a huge issue there with how that material was being taught. Now, without lowering the standards, because the standards is set by the government, by the military, they couldn't really adjust that. However, they did change up the teachers, they changed up the curriculum, they changed up some of the requirements for what is taught when, and they were able to get that pass rate up. And that's what we want at the end of the day. Is I think all of us here can agree that all of us want at the end of the day, minorities of and all people of all stripes to have an equal shot at passing these classes, and we want to see kind of an equitable uh, this shown equitably through the pass rates and through the attendance rates and things like that. And I don't think, and to answer Wooden Sock's question, that has nothing to do with lowering standards. I think we could do that without lowering standards. I think we should do that without lowering.
Well, yeah,
But-
but it's not going to happen
My
in
question
college,
to you-
right? It's gonna happen in K through 12, right? To allow that to manifest itself in secondary education, correct?
That's why my solution would be more downstream, to fix a lot of these problems that we're seeing upstream
Why not
on a
both?
downstream level. No, we can do both.
We should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wait,
we can
what-
do
what-
both. Like I think Joe Lewis's when we've talked about this as well, more recruitment efforts towards communities of color and things like that. I think that's a great idea. I think we should definitely strive for that. But when we talk about things like eliminating the ACT and the SCT, that's where I get a little. I don't think this
Well,
is
that's
the right
fine.
way to go.
Yeah. So wait. Let me give you a question, right? Say we augment the course and we give the tutors and we give all the resources, and the minority gap is still there. What do we do? with that?
I just gave you an answer. We'd look at the curriculum and see
No,
what
no,
we
you
can
did. You said
improve
look
and
at the
what
course,
not.
and then you
You're
said look
damn
at the
right.
course, right? Say we look at the course and everything's
Well,
fine.
then
with
it's
the
a
course.
downstream problem, most likely.
Exactly.
Correct?
Then
Yeah,
what
then it's a
happens?
downstream
At
problem.
that
and so
point,
we
if
have
you
to look
think
at this
these
stuff.
universities like Harvard are like subbing out math 55 for like math 32, you're out of your fucking mind. No way in hell they would do that.
They
it's
will,
gonna-
however, still acknowledge that at some point they're going to have to answer the question: is our course too hard? And that's something that keeps getting avoided. Like, they're not going to do that to consider it. They will ask that question, but usually for most universities, they'll say, like, hold on, let's not go belly up and change everything about the difficulty or perceived difficulty of the course. Let's see where the other problems exist. But when you keep tackling those other problems and they still exist, you're going to have to look at ask the hard question: is this course too hard? My alma mater did this with Math 1000, which is the entry-level math course. What they found was that a vast majority of first-year students were failing, and regardless of their racial or any type of racial or gender identifiable, any identifiable, right? And what they found is that despite the change of teachers, despite the change of the entire course itself, they found that, hey, the textbook being used for this course was too difficult for the students that we were bringing into that needed this course as a requirement. And what they found was that the reason is that the actual schedule of things learned relative to the textbook was too quick to retain anything. Like, there were like weeks where you'd have like an entire like week of courses followed by a test, and there would be, I think it was like 8 or 9 tests across the span of like one course, like half of the semester. So what they did was, not making it easier, they eased up the tests, they created longer spans of time for certain topics, and then that led to better outcomes. This isn't something where like, oh, we gotta like lowering the level of a college course, like the rigor level, is the last thing supervisors want to do, because that means changing the entire course. It's not as easy as just making it easy.
Okay, also, and with that, about we're out of time. We can just go into closing statements. People can make their final points. Sorry, a time crunch. Let's go to Grimace, because I know you had his hand up.
Wait, no, I don't want to be the first to conclude. Okay, fine. Yeah, I think that we've completely dodged around this issue. I found, because of critical race theory, that we're now seeing racism as the reason for anybody ever doing poorly, as we saw with Joe Lewis's excuse about attendance. It seemed like it's actually impossible for somebody to actually just not be qualified to take this course and pass. So if we look at a class and we have a huge pass-fail ratio that disproportionately affects Black people, we then say that it's okay to reform it because they have material issues, they have attendance issues. And it seems like if we tackle those things, then we'll find another reason, and we'll keep finding another reason, and we're until the point we actually have to just reform the class to make it a lot easier for everyone. That's not the case with what I'm talking about. We need to make sure that these students, who obviously have the potential to be great students, to actually develop during the K through 12 period, and not expect them to come to these elite institutes as super math geniuses and compete with these kids who had super math genius tutors. Like, this isn't solving the problem. We need to make sure that people at the elite institutes are actually the best of the best and the most prepared to take this coursework. Okay, like that's how it is. We can't keep fucking making excuses for people. So actually, that's it. I yield my time.
Okay, this is the last topic too. So if you want to shout yourself out, you can go ahead and do that.
Twitch.tv/AuGrimace. As somebody pointed out in chat, I've got 1 viewer right now. I have 6 thanks to my yelling. Twitter.com/AuGrimace. You can catch my hot takes, and I have a YouTube channel. It's got a bunch of letters and stuff in it. You can check out my BDSM debate I had last week. That's actually really good. I would pay Joe Lewis $20 to react to it.
I'll just do it for free. I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah. If anybody still like wants to settle anything after the panel too, we can still be here. I'll still be here. So, yeah, sure. Settle the business. All right, Sock.
All right, AuGrimace. A couple weeks ago, we were at odds, but I actually agree with you 100% on this topic, which is awesome. You love to see it. I think I am glad that it stayed as peaceful as it did, this topic. I was a little nervous coming in about it. Joe, if you could send me that stuff, like either on Discord or whatever, like after the stream, like that'd be great. I'd love to look at it. And maybe we can talk about it sometime. But no, I had fun as always, and I appreciate being here. Thanks. I am Hardwin Sock. Find me on Twitch. Mainly do like one-on-one conversations with people I don't necessarily agree with, which is, I feel like trying to promote better conversations with people, not necessarily a debate format, try and find common ground. So if you like that kind of content, come check it out. And thank you all.
Thank you very much. Also, thank you. I'm really important for the rate of 83. Didn't have to do that. Thank you. Let's go to Wick.
Okay, well, yeah. I was a little underprepared coming into this, considering I was told 30 seconds, like, hey, these are the topics, go. So, is what it is. To give my closing statement on this, me and Joe have talked about academics before, and we've had a very interesting and reasonable discussion. I think we agree more than we disagree. I would put a lot of the problems more on foundational issues and more on downstream issues than I think he would. I think there's a sore lack of how we educate and prepare our youth to meet the standards that are required for these high level universities. I think that we can fix most, if not all, of these issues downstream, and I think that's probably the best way to do so. If you like my takes, or even if you hate my takes and want to just hate watch me, you can find me at twitch.tv/death of certainty. Next August 13th, I'm going to be having a very interesting guest on. I'm going to be having a former neo-Nazi who now runs an organization to help combat extremism and deplatform a lot of his former Klansmen and things like that. He works with an organization called Beyond Barriers USA.org, and yeah, that should be a very interesting discussion. So, thanks.
Thank you. Cutsleeve.
Okay, so my last thoughts on this topic is mixing social science and hard science is literally brain soup. Courses can be too hard. We should never have the framework that says not enough X are passing, so we change the course. We should look at the course as a whole, the course independently, and see if people can pass it. This is because, well, we can use the limited resource argument, right? There's a limited number of resources, so that X group has to funnel. You have to sacrifice some of the minority or the majorities group or whatever group you're comparing the X group to say that there's a number of limited resources. Even if you have to say that there's not a limit of resources, you can use a process resourcing argument, right? Give him the tutors, give him the library, give him the MacBook, giving poor people, giving X people, giving women, giving these people who are not passing a class MacBooks when they don't know how to process the information doesn't do anything. Giving someone who doesn't want to process the library, or like even to Sock's point, he was very good at tests, but he didn't want to process that information. So just giving a bunch of resources to people who either A, don't know how to process it, or B, can't process information doesn't do anything, or it doesn't achieve the results. But another example is CRT, right? Like fake critical race theorist Robin DiAngelo using fake history to say that all white people are racist. This is literally brain soup. People trying to augment hard science and soft science are not, it's not effective. You can find me on my Discord name. I've never rejected the debate. If you want to talk to me, use my app. You.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming as always, Cutsleeve. Let's go to Agent 10.
Okay, well, many things. Just because, people are failing a course, that doesn't mean universities lower the rigorous amount of educational bars they have to achieve to pass it. They examine the course and they could change certain things. Example, I am a electrician and lighting designer by trade. I'm getting my degree in it. I fucking suck in an in-classroom setting, even though me as a 20-year-old have gone even on professional stages and lit professional productions on a master electrician standpoint. But I fucking suck. I've had classes change later on that I've had to retake to put more hands-on elements that had me excel in the course later on. That does not mean the course got easier. I still learned the same thing. It just made it easier for someone like me who isn't more pen and paper focused to get that. We can change curriculum like that, and we can give people resources that they need. For example, like if you're in like a history 101 class, a tutor might be fucking nice. Some people never use a tutor. But hey, given that's pretty nice, a lot of fucking colleges give them, especially higher up education colleges like a Harvard. If my pretty cheap state school could do it, I'm sure these multi-million-dollar private institutions can as well. And I find it very laughable someone like Cutsleeves, who hasn't even stepped foot on a college campus, let alone taken a class or a credit or any of this shit, thinks he knows how any of this works. Harvard Math 55 doesn't go down to 35 because a few people failed the course. That's not how any of this shit works. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's agent 10 underscore TTV. If you want to find me on Twitch, I'll be gaming a lot of New World, Destiny 2 content, Genshin Impact content, whatever other indie game I find. I dissect movies and other art stuff, and I might just do some schoolwork on stream as well. And you'll find that at agent underscore 10 underscore. Thank you.
Very swag, very cool. Let's go to Fanatic.
Whew, yeah, this topic, man, I love it because it really brings out some of the covert stuff, right? Like, I feel like some people in this panel are really knocking on the door of racism, and it's OD, and they don't even see it. They're unironically just like bigotry of low expectations and racist. I'm like, wait, no, like, listen, like, they're failing this course. So like, you guys are saying, well, we got to look for the excuse for why they're failing the course, right? And you guys want to look for excuses, as if it's like, well, we should probably see what's causing them to fail the course, right? Then it's like, okay, so if we look and we look at economic issues and we solve that, then they'll still keep failing the course, and you'll have to look for another reason. And then after you solve that, you'll look for another reason, and you'll keep looking for it, which basically just implies that for some reason, he's not going to say what that reason is. We're just all black people, or because that was the people in the hypothetical here, are just always going to fail this course, and we're always going to need to keep looking for excuses, which basically implies that there's something inherently wrong with black people, and there won't be enough excuses to solve the problem. Sounds like racism to me. It's kind of wild. I think it's really insane to me, like, for someone to say, like, mixing these two things is so problematic, when it's like, I asked at the very beginning, could you give me an example of the mixing of these things? I didn't even read the freaking article. Oh, okay, so you don't know what you're talking about. You just want to speak at people. Got you. It's really insane to me. I think CRT is absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely necessary. I think a lot of times people want to conflate CRT with things like anti-racism, which is not the same thing whatsoever. I think the idea that we should probably start looking at critically at how law intersects with like the lives of individuals and impacts the lives of individuals, specifically considering the racist history of this country. The idea that we would try to look at law as it intersects and look at the racial impacts and racial experiences of people on their daily lives. I think that's actually absolutely important, especially when you recognize that classrooms are necessary for teaching things like civics and social studies and things like that. To be able to try to do that in the history of the United States without ever taking the racial component into consideration, you're never going to get accurate results. And I think, everyone here arguing against it, they're just, that's the actual brain rot.
Thank you.
And you can find me at twitch.tv/MrFanatiq, Twitter, MrFanatiq, all my music on every platform under the name Fanatiq, Fanatiq. I haven't done panels in a while, and this is a good reminder of why people aren't actually engaging with you. They're just saying complete nonsense. But I love one-on-one debates, because then you get to hold people to the fire so they can't say stupid stuff and then just get saved by a moderator, or then have 8 different people need to talk after them, so then we don't actually get to address the things that they're talking about. You'll find most people actually can't hang in a one-on-one. It's just panels let you get away with stupidity.
AircraftSparky?
Alrighty, thank you everyone for the conversation tonight. When it comes to the idea of, is a class too hard? When it comes down to a university, I think things such as gatekeeping is actually a good thing. The harder the course, the more beneficial your degree is. The whole topic was about, is wokeism taking over the hard sciences? I'm saying no. I think some of the people are trying to conflate, trying to add some social sciences to the hard sciences, but when it comes down to it, the technical industries will not allow that to happen. When you start to delegitimize your degrees by putting a bunch of superfluous BS in with it, your graduates don't get hired, which makes a bad product, which makes your degree less desirable. So a lot of the institutions are trying to safeguard all this social science from interjecting too much into the hard sciences. I think that in areas such as history, I think that the employment of some of these social science theorems is not a bad thing, to be honest. I mean, I studied Middle Eastern history under from a Jewish perspective, and I thought that was quite interesting. But you have to understand that a lot of it is about perspective. It's not about it being the actual 100% hard truth. Because when you look at things like history, it's different perspectives and different stories. I think the original topic um, was kind of designed. I think it was designed. The question was designed to start a little bit of contention, and that's okay. It makes for good TV. You can find me on twitch.tv/AircraftSparky, youtube.com/AircraftSparky. Yeah, interesting debates tonight. Interesting talks. A lot of weird things. But hey, it is what it is. Thank you all, and y'all have a great night and God bless.
You have a great night too. And finally, Joe Lewis.
Yeah, wokeness is not taking over hard science, but hard science has issues like inclusion, diversity, and bias, and things that they need assistance in. Furthermore, since we're talking about education, I believe that students need to be given resources to succeed, and a lot of this is gatekept by cost. I think we need to have early intervention programs for students who might not look like that they are failing, but maybe due to statistics that they can track through the GPA and other factors, that they might need additional assistance in other programs. I think that every student should be entitled to an academic advisor from the point they start when school kind of revs up from third grade, and that continues throughout their entire academic career. That could be something as simple as having a teacher liaison, which some schools have, which led to good outcomes, or even something as an academic advisor that tracks them throughout their entire school career via guidance counselor. That's something that my school district formerly did, and that's something I support. I think also you should have programs for graduating seniors to go back to their alma maters so that they can give tutoring and other type of resources, because they will be the ones who know how these teachers and these courses work. Like, why not just create a program to create some financial incentive so the graduating seniors who pass these AP level math courses and these AP level sciences to go back and help a couple of struggling freshmen and sophomores with the math and sciences that they're struggling with. Or maybe it's something like music or something like that. I think it's a program that we'd all would support there. And then additionally, I think teachers have to continue with the diversity, inclusion, and bias training so that they don't fall into sort of unintentional stereotyping traps of certain students and their ability to succeed, or even their desire of having resources in the first place. If we understand that not every student is going to be open and articulate the problems that they're having due to interpersonal factors, like whether they might not like the student or not, whether they may not like the teacher or not, or even just like being a shy student, I think we should give students and parents all the resources available so that their children can succeed. And then that could easily be one part of the problem when we're trying to tackle their lack of academic success in college. But once we get to college, there's a whole slew of problems that would need to be addressed as well. So the education in terms of early intervention, tutors, and all those resources in between is something that ought to be pursued. And that's something that I support. I think everybody there supports. And if it seemed like I didn't support that, there you go, I support it. Twitch.tv/Joe Lewis, the O's 0.
Thank you. All right, I think that's everybody. I want to thank everybody from coming on the panel. I especially thank MrFanatiq and Joe Lewis and Grimace and Agent 10, all new people. Super enjoyed honestly, I enjoyed everyone on that, all the new people. And thank you for coming by. Didn't have to do it. Super interesting for me, super fun for me. One of the funnest panels I've ever moderated. Also want to thank AircraftSparky, obviously. Cutsleeves. It's never boring whenever you guys are on stream. Love having you guys on stream every single time. Wig, thank you for coming by again. And of course, Sock, thank you for coming. And with that, that's the show. You can't go home, but what's that saying? You don't have to stay here, but you can't go home, whatever the movie quote is or something. Yeah, so with that, we're going to somebody want to say something? Okay. I tried. So that we're going to do a raid real quick. We're going to raid
Grimace,
Archers.
definitely.
Yeah. I don't have control of the raid, unfortunately.
Alas.
I would honestly, I would.
No, it's fine. Just go raid a conservative. That's fine.
Blame Danabo. He's the top, the conservative main
It's fine,
boss.
Danabo. I'll remember this.
Yeah.